What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, and tonight we got a great show packed for you guys. It's Friday night, May 16th, 9:19 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to be talking Crystal Lake series, our thoughts on it, speculation pretty much, because we don't know a whole lot yet about it, and Predator Badlands. We're going to rip some things apart here, discuss it, break it down as best we can, and I'm not doing it alone. I got these two film directors, Vincent Disanti and James Sweet, who did Jason Rising and the Never Hike Alone saga. Had to have them on for some Predator talk, some Friday the 13th talk, because to me, they are experts at this stuff. And, you know, they've been keeping the Friday the 13th spirit alive for sure. And so I'm going to bring them on. And so hit the like button, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and we'll get right into it here. So let me bring up very special guests, Vinny and James. How you guys doing?
Hello.
Hello. We're here. We made it.
Happy Friday.
Yes.
Happy Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy Friday. So how's it been going with you guys? How's been the excitement level for you guys on recent news of Crystal Lake?
James?
Well, I'm excited about it. I mean, it's new content. It's what we want, right? As Friday fans, that's what we want. So I'm excited. Obviously, I'm probably like a lot of people. I was a little bummed once they got rid of Brian Fuller, or they parted ways, however the story goes. But we're still getting something, so that's exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited. I've been obviously, I think like most fans, we've been waiting for something since 2009. Part of the reason why I made Never Hike Alone, and I think why James made Jason Rising, was because we were getting sick of waiting for new material. And now that the lawsuit is over and things are coming forward and we have Crystal Lake, I know a lot of people are down on a story about Pamela, but Pamela is the OG. She's a horror queen. She is, as the kids do. That shit. Let's give it up for Pamela for a little bit. I wouldn't mind a season of Pamela. Like, I can get through a season of Pamela to get to 3 seasons of Jason, which is, I believe, the plan. You know what I mean? Like, it's not 4 seasons of Pamela. Like, they're getting to Jason in this show, and answering a lot of questions that I think Friday the 13th fans have that have been asking. I had a chance to sit down and talk with Brian Fuller behind the scenes about the series when he was working on it. I had a chance to work on the series, actually. And when he left, that chance left. But to hear him talk about it, to hear what they were planning, to hear sort of what's like, I got my first peek behind the scenes of what's actually happening. And so that's sort of what's kind of kept me abreast of, and like what's kept me hopeful, is the fact that I do think that there are a lot of people with their hearts in the right places. It's just sort of, I think, with more recent news, with the release of the new design and things like that, and some of the language in the Jason universe, and the way that the Barsimians and Toberoff and all these people who are now involved with the franchise, who are now running it, in a similar way that, like, for fans who are familiar with the franchise, like, Cunningham and Miller weren't really involved. It was mostly the Mancuso family who was producing these films throughout the height of the series. And I feel like there are new Mancusos. These are the new babysitters of the project, while, the mama and papa are sitting in their corners collecting checks. These are the people that are responsible for it. They've said multiple times in press releases that they want to be engaged with the fan base. They want to hear feedback from the fan base. They want to excite the fan base. They want to have all these activations and do video games and movies and, new toys on shelves and things like that. So it's exciting, after so many years of dormancy, to see life being breathed back into the Friday the 13th franchise. Now, whether we love everything that comes out or not, whether you love the multiverse game that Jason was in, or whether there was a skin on Fortnite that they released or whatever, whether you love or hate all that stuff, it's just nice to even have the chance to talk about it, because it feels like Friday the 13th fans, we've been on the bench for the last 10, 15 years, while Halloween got its day in the sun, and all these other franchise, and Scream and all these other things are like kind of at the center of it. I think it's now time for Friday the 13th to be at the center spotlight of horror, because it is the biggest franchise now sort of entering the arena, and justly so. And so it's going to be interesting, not only about like what's released, how the fans react, how the fans interact with one another, each other. Are we going to fall into the trap of toxicity? So there's a lot to really kind of dive into with this.
Oh yeah. I mean, and just like, you're right. I mean, being on YouTube for 5 years, there hasn't been we've been talking your guys' films and jumping on, talking rankings and this and oh, I like what this filmmaker did. I like this filmmaker. Now we potentially have the chance to hop on each other's channels, talk. Like as soon as an image of Mrs. Voorhees comes out, I'll be right on there going, "What do I think about this? Is this good?" You know what I mean? We're gonna have so much to talk about. So this is all good. For me. This is all, like you said, Vinny, whether you dislike it or you like it. It's going to be a great conversation. So I'm just going to quickly try it, everyone. Russell Dorsey, what's up, everyone? Let's smash the like button if you haven't already. Let's enjoy the awesome conversation. Welcome, Vincente, Disanti, and James Sweet. Thank you for coming on to the chat with us. Can't wait.
James,
Thank you, Russell.
this. Oh, like, put your hands on. Yeah.
Alley Girl, hour 2 of Vinny. Yes, please. Hey Matt, what's going on? I said, what's going on, J Money? Womp Stomp.
Yeah, I'm in the chat too. Me and James are matching tonight.
Yeah,
that's right.
Tyler Adams, round 2 fight. Oh, there's the man, Davey Deathray. Hey, Davey, what's going on, buddy? This must be Ronnie. He said, "Who is the guy on the bottom?" All the good names are taken. Productions. I think Ronnie just did, or he's doing a Jason Rising watch along or something soon.
Yeah, they just did a bunch of Never Hikes. I know that they spent a good time shitting all over me, so that was fun.
Those guys.
No, we have a lot. Those guys are so much fun. I have so much fun.
I had them on my show, and they're a lot of fun.
I haven't heard of this. What's going on? Who's doing what?
All the good names are taking podcast. Oh my god, you got to get on that podcast, dude.
I'll have to check it out.
It's the one.
They're doing. I think they're doing a watch along. Read these guys, Ronnie and Blake.
All right.
They're doing a Jason Rising watch along or review or something. I can't remember what it was. Let us know, Ronnie, what you're doing. I know you. I saw you in the feed there for that stuff. So, all right. So people who don't know James or don't know Vinny, who come to my channel, everything, because this is a rebranded channel about almost 3 years ago. Last time I had Vinny on and James, I was a different channel. So, I just want to go back a little to your guys' first memories or a story or anything you'd like about what got you into Friday the 13th in the first place. We'll start with you, Vinny.
Yeah, no, for me, it was walking down the horror aisle. You know what I mean? Seeing the masks on the shelf, seeing those VHS tapes, and just ever since then, it was, what is that? I got to watch it. And then I watched one and I was like, well, there's, 7 other ones. I better watch those too. And then being obsessed with this franchise ever since. I mean, it was just sort of, this was how I spent my Friday nights, was going to the video rental store and grabbing a horror movie off the shelf. And no matter what I did every week, like no matter what I rented, I always rented the new movie plus one of the Friday the 13th. Like it was just a ritual in my house. Yeah. And I growing up on a lake, growing up in the woods, it was just, Jason was my guy.
Amazing. James?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know, I'm maybe a year older than Vinny.
A year?
Just kidding. But no, it's kind of the same thing, I grew up with that stuff. I remember being in middle school, coming home, and I would throw the final chapter on. And I think the first time I learned about Jason was 6th grade, I think, when we were in what was called outdoor school. And all these kids were scared of Jason. I don't know what that is. So it was one of those things that I wanted to find out. And that's when, it just took off after that. Once I found out what Jason was, my buddy was drawing pictures of Jason all the time. And so I kind of did the same thing and just fell in love with horror afterwards. Evil Dead, the Elm Street was out around that time. And well, actually that came out when I was in high school, I think. I can't remember, but I made a steak knife glove. I like hot glue gun steak knives to this garden glove and brought it into school, and people thought I was weird, but
Yeah.
You know, I was having fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I remember watching my gateway to horror was Jason Lives. Pretty much. Like that was. I remember early memories of Cujo, as well. But basically, the very first horror movie I watched, like all the way through, where this is like when you could rent a movie, just at a convenience store, like where I
Yeah.
was, and I saw that jacket. Actually, right here. I saw this and I said, "Mom, I want to rent that. I want to rent that." So she said, "Okay." It's like the first time she let me watch like a horror film. So I was like 7, sitting on a beanbag in front of an old tube TV, and I was just digging up Jason. I was mesmerized. I couldn't get my eyes off the screen of that movie. And ever since then, you put a graveyard, a cemetery in a movie, I'm down for it. I'm absolutely down, and it is my favorite Friday movie of all time. Which is why Vinny's movies are just my style, like my thing, because you're kind of like taking that storyline, extending it for us, and all that. And yeah, I mean, I've just been a Jason fan ever since. So absolutely, it's
That was my
just love
first
what Tom
poster.
first poster.
Yeah, my
Sweet.
first poster was Jason Lives.
Amazing. Yeah, so it's and obviously that took me down a rabbit hole of so many other things. And to digress a bit, I remember I was excited about Brian Fuller too when he was attached, even though I didn't know much about him. I actually never seen the Hannibal series yet, but my favorite filmmaker actually is Mike Flanagan, and he came out after and said what Brian Fuller was going to do with this. He was really excited. Mike Flanagan was excited. He came out with just an Instagram post, said this was going to be something like very special. Yeah, special. And I was like, oh, when Mike Flanagan's saying that, as a huge Mike Flanagan fan. All right, let's get down to some business here. So I'm going to start with this little image here.
Hi, James.
Bye, James. I'll put up for a minute. I'm sure we've all looked at this to the death. I just wanted to show it to the chat. This Jason universe. I'll let Vinny maybe explain a bit more, but I don't know what. I guess this is what they're toying with, and maybe that was the plan the whole time, just to get fans talking. That's what it seems like to me, because I'm looking at this and going, "Is this a joke?" When I first saw it, not from the head down. Let me explain. From the head, I like the head down. From the mask, it's the mask I don't like. They look like inverted sunshades on the eyes to me. And I thought this was kind of a joke, and I'm like, this can't be what we're getting if we eventually get a Jason movie. So, yeah. So that's my thoughts. Really, I thought, this. Please take this back and do something better with that mask. But I like the jacket. I like basically it's what you did, Vinny. That's what it looks like to me. The tighter jacket, it looks like blue jeans there or black jeans or whatever. But
no, he has like brown, like chino,
Yeah.
not chino, but probably work pants on, work boots. Yeah, I mean that was the formula for Ghost Jason. It was M65 jacket torn down. In fact, I got my Ghost Jason jacket right there. But yeah, no, from the neck down, I mean, I laughed out loud. I mean, I can't tell you how many direct messages I got from random people I knew, people I didn't know, just being like, "What?" Everybody and going through you have to understand how vindicating it is to go see to create something like that and talk about it. I mean, I wanted to ask you guys before, when you were coming up and you were Friday the 13th fans, probably in the late 2000s, early 2010s. I'm guessing you were in chat forums. You were going back and forth and talking about this stuff with other people and grabbing screen grabs and doing drawovers or saying, "Oh, in this movie, look at this background prop," and doing all of this type of stuff before there was stuff like this for us to meet and do podcasts, right? So yeah, I mean, go ahead.
Yeah. I was I was
a forum,
a
forum, yeah.
Or just I remember when 2009 come out and people are like, "Oh, I fucking hate it." I don't know where it was. It was on somewhere, and you just type in and said, at that time, I actually liked the movie. When I first saw it, I actually over the years, it just hasn't held up to me. But anyways, I'd be like, I didn't mind it, but yeah, so forums and stuff like that. But when I started doing YouTube, it's much different. But yeah,
no, yeah. So like, so on that point, like, obviously, so it's kind of interesting to like back in the day when we were doing that stuff. Like I used to talk about a Jason that I wanted to look like that. I talked about 2009 Jason a lot, about how it's like, man, if they just slim down the jacket, like the Freddy versus Jason jacket is too big, the remake jacket is too big, the jacket from Jason X isn't really there. But if they're going to do a jacket like this. And I created the Ghost Jason jacket based on that. And it was something that, like, you saw a little bit of it in the MKX Mortal Kombat Jason. And I did shout out Crash Cunningham in my podcast. He did a concept drawing that was very similar to what we were kind of thinking for what that would look like with the open shirt. So yeah, so seeing neck down and just looking at it and being like, well, that's Ghost Jason to a degree. And I'm like I said in a few places, like I've met people at KMBFX. I know who Greg Nicotero is. He knows what Never Hike Alone is. So I wouldn't be surprised if those concept artists, if Greg drew it himself, or if he has a concept artist in-house that does work for him. So I wonder if he did it. I talked to him directly and talked to him about the 2017 Jason that was never released. And honestly, like, there's some similarities with that mask that I saw that day that's in what we see now. And I didn't like it then either. The reduced holes, all that stuff, that is stuff that I think has been around longer than we really think, like maybe since like 2018, 2017. I'm not kidding. That was the one where Jason was supposed to wear a medical mask at the beginning of the movie. I got to see that and what that looked like and all that stuff there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Never Hike Alone influenced that look, or if that was just, after all these years and all the iterations, that is just an amalgamation of what Jason should look like. And I had the same opinion as Greg and Katero. So either way, that is a vindicating thing for me, for someone who's been talking about this for over a decade. And when it comes to the mask, I mean, we're all in the same position here with the mask, and I've talked about it long enough tonight and talked long enough right now. So James, why don't you start with the mask?
Wow. I mean, it's just so generic, the one that they gave us. From the first time they even released the Jason Universe icon symbol,
it's been a problem.
It just looks like a computer generated poor, like everybody's saying, it's like a dollar store mask.
Looks like AI.
Yeah, and it's like an AI generated image, and it's just, I don't know why they're still stuck on all the chevrons. I don't understand that, because it seems like everything that they put out from 2009, even that to me was a poor attempt at the mask. I was never a fan of that.
Yeah.
I know that they kept the aesthetic, but it wasn't the same. How many films did we see that the mask was similar in shape? It was what, part 3, 4, 5, and that was about it, right? And ever since that, it's changed. The shape of it, the feel of it when it's on. So I if they're trying to stick with a classic influence, then go back to the shape at least.
Yeah. I mean, you got a perfect example right behind you too. And the work that you've done, on the Jason Rising mask, which is derivative of Final Chapter, we've done with the Ghost Hawk. It like, a lot of it is in the eyes. I think we went over this before too, but like in the eyes of the Jason, it's like you talked about the reverse sunshades, like those look like sport shades, and these look like aviators. That's sort of the shape that's kind of different. And these do have the rounder eye, but the darkness and the round eye gives you that shark look, and it gives you that mystery of what's under this mask. And it's sort of that shape.
Exactly. Exactly.
Roundness of the mask. Like, it doesn't have to be a complete pie shape. You know what I mean? But that elongated mask, that's what resembles the Temu off the shelf at Spirit Halloween cheap ass hockey mask that you buy, that glows in the dark, that that you wear with a hoodie. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of mask that resembles. And so that's the connection that fans are making with this Jason Universe logo. And that's what they're working against right now. And I'm like, and I think the thing is, I think that fans would be in in agreement of this is that we're all just trying to give them a word of advice to be like, we'd like to see something different. Like, thanks, but no thanks. Like, back to the drawing board with you with this. And I think if they change the logo, they change that mask and they put a better mask on that body, they're going to have great results. And I would say the only caveat to all of this and all of our reaction is like, all this is a concept painting. He isn't posed. He isn't in action. We don't see this actually fitted to a human being who is acting and becoming Jason and wearing it and selling it. So there is room for us to be won over in that stretch, but I'm gonna warn fans of this. Friday the 13th, like, this sounds very similar to what I sounded like in 2008 when I was talking about the remake and everything that I was reading about the remake and some of the red flags that came up along the way that I overlooked and said, well, they could fix this when they get to here. Like when some of those first images were released and Jason didn't really look all that good and reactions really weren't that great to the first vision. Like I was like, well, wait till he's on screen and wait till you see him in camera and it's all going to change once he's on screen. You're seeing behind the scenes shots and blah, blah, blah. And it was excuse after excuse after excuse. If that's the repetitive language of, oh, well, wait till you get to the next stage, they'll fix it down the line. That's fix it in post language, and we're all going to be in trouble. And we may end up with, what we don't want is that whatever they shoot out of the gun first is so bad that it's a repeat of 2009 and there's no sequels and there's nothing that follows it up because they don't know what to do with it because it's obvious that they don't know what they have or what to do with it. And I think that is the biggest concern with fans. They feel like, I don't think fans feel the confidence yet in the Jason universe. It's been a mockery, I think, so far. And I don't mean that in like a bad term. I'm just saying that is the realistic approach of like when people see that logo and people talk about it, it's with a snicker. It's with a, what the hell is this? And maybe they have a bunch of stuff that they're going to whip out in the next month and a half that's going to blow us all away. But if this was shot number one,
it'd be rough.
It's going to be a rough summer. Jason's birthday is not going to be fun. But we want to make it fun. You know what I mean? We're not going to, I don't think any, there are no death threats we have to lob here. There's nothing that needs to be personal or nasty. I just think it's like, we're the focus group and talk to these super fans like James and myself and other fan filmmakers and other super fans who are costume designers and mask makers and artists. Like they got to start really reaching out and talking to the fan base because I think the feedback they're going to get is going to make their decision making so much more informed and that the product is going to get so much better and we're going to be happy. And it's just going to be a nice reciprocal relationship with each other where it's going to go back and forth. And, because we want those new dolls on the shelf and dolls. We want those new figures on the shelf. We want those new posters. We want the new masks. You know what I mean? Give it to us all. Like, give it us all. Like, have 3 different Jasons. He's like Batman. Like, I don't care if there's a YouTube Jason, a Peacock Jason, and a movie theater Jason. Like, give me 3 at the same time. I don't care. I'll take them all. Just make them look good.
Yeah. I mean, that's they're all those are all good points there. It's a lot of people, I wonder if they just put that out there too, just to get discussions going. Because like you said, this is clearly not going on someone yet. They don't even really have a like a Friday the 13th movie, you know what I mean? So I was kind of confused at first what the Jason universe was. You know what I mean? I was like, it's like is this something? Did they have to alter the mask a lot because legality? Because of the fight between Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham still?
No, that's all over. It's all under the same umbrella. I think the only thing would be a factor is that if New Line, Paramount, and Warner Brothers own anything from when they own the rights, because there is a piece of it, I think distribution-wise, it's still stuck with them. But Horror Inc. owns 2 through 8. And Friday the 13th LLC, which is Victor Miller, owns Part 1, Pamela Young Jason. So I don't understand what they're running from as far as like trying not to do any copyright stuff. It doesn't make any sense. Just bring back your legacy character.
Well, think about it like this. When this came out, people went ape shit.
Yeah.
And this is the original stuff, right? That's what we want. We want that old school feel.
You're shitty. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Sergeant Shitty Pickle. That's like the greatest name of
Sergeant Shitty Pickle.
Again, let me the chat. I'm gonna get to questions. I'm just gonna go through some talking points first, and we'll do some questions after. So, Stacy, I know you're asking a lot of questions in there. We'll get to them. We're just gonna go through some stuff first. Um, um, and yeah. So, well, let's hold your horses.
Yeah.
I know it's exciting. It's exciting to talk about all this stuff. Okay, let's get into Crystal Lake series. I know we don't know a hell of a lot yet. After I was watching your show, Vinny. You said follow Brad Caleb Kane, so I did. So I'm getting his feeds now, and he was standing beside like a lake and everything like that, which was kind of exciting. But
I think it's Nobi Bosco. I think it's Nobi Bosco too.
Yeah,
That's
it might be. Yeah,
camp.
I know you were talking about that on your show. I know originally I'm just east of Toronto where I live, and I'll know Brian Fuller. I think they were filming in Mississauga, which is
They were going to.
Yeah,
I was
I have no idea.
Maybe I would have slept on your couch.
Yeah, I have no idea where, unless it's like one of our parks or something, or one of our camps or something up there that out that way. But I thought, really, they're filming it up here, which I would have been like, I'm driving there. Because I probably would have, but yeah, Crystal Lake series. I know we got a casting of Pamela, which I think Linda Cardellini will do pretty good. I've liked her. I know a lot of people they're not fans of the one she was in, The Curse of Lenora, but I thought she was the best part of the movie. But what do you guys think of the casting of her?
You, James?
I mean, a lot of people went up in arms on the fact that, Linda's a good-looking lady, right? But when we see, younger images of Betsy Palmer, she was a bombshell, right? So it's tough to go yay or nay on somebody when we haven't seen their work yet, right? She may kill it, she may knock it out of the park. We just don't know. It's all just up in the air until we see something. But I try to give everybody a chance. I'm not going to just shit on them just because I may not like the choice of casting of what's in my head, but it's all subjective, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, she's obviously a fine and well capable actress. I think one of the things that I'm excited about is that it seems that she's, in some way, shape, or form, I'm just getting this energy that she's really excited about this role. The fact that they did the announcements for it and it was such a big thing. I mean, obviously this is a title or character. I really am looking forward to hearing from her. I think that's the other thing too. I think we haven't really heard, like, we've heard a little bit from Brad Caleb Kane. So obviously if you sign up at Brad Caleb Kane on Instagram, you're going to see little tidbits. I mean, he posts to his story, he's been posting stuff into his stream that, we saw like a script thing, all these little pieces that are kind of coming together. If you want to be the first to see it in the public eye, I mean, he's the person to do it because he's the showrunner. But now it'd be nice to hear from her. It would be nice to hear, like, what was her inspiration for going after this character and doing all of this stuff. And maybe she has her own Friday the 13th story, which I'm like very excited to hear about and excited to hear about her fandom behind it. And I think even Brad Caleb Kane to a certain degree. I mean, he's, everything we've heard from Crystal Lake and the Jason universe and everything has been sort of from behind press releases. They're quotes in press releases. They're pre-rehearsed, very, generic sort of really like information dumps, and nobody's really diving into anything other than like the typical things that you're going to hear. I want to hear these people talk about it. Like, I want to hear them and see them in front of a camera being like, oh my God, I've been working on this script. When Brian, left, it was an opportunity for me to come in and really do something like really special because I love this, and like actually see how they get into it. And hear how they talk about it and hear how they talk about the old films, and just sort of like, I think fan to fan, I think that's what we want. I think that fans would love this sort of experience to sit down with them and just be like, we're all fans. Like, we obviously all got to be fans. Let's see you nerd out a little bit. Let's see you get passionate and excited. And what should we get passionate and excited about? Because it will reflect off them. And I think that that's been a lot of the success that James and I have had with our films, is that it's not just the films that we're making, but when we sit down and talk about them, it comes with passion. It comes with pride. It comes with this, like, want to share this fandom with the other fans, and talk about other fans and create something for other fans to digest and talk about. I think that if they approached it with a little less like, well, we'll do a new press release through this Ad Weekly place and blah, 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 and do this, and just got on social media and said, hey, it's us. Hi, we're the Barsinians. Like, we're on TikTok. You know, we're going to do a dance for you. Like, go, like, actually don't do that. Please don't get cringy. But I think that it's time, like, let's lift the veil. Let's step into the new era of content creation and filmmaking. And this is a big fan base with a lot of different people. And I think if they like Crystal Lake is going to be a thing where I know every week I'm going to be doing a weekly show. Like, I'm going to be, I'm going to be I want to be the Chris Hardwick of Crystal Lake. You know what I mean? Kind of bringing that all together. I'm looking forward to that. You know, I think fans really got to sit back and think about not just like Pamela's story, but getting into the story about how the camp came to be. Who are the Christies? What is Crystal Lake? What is this place, this world building that will take place to understand what life has been here before the events of Friday the 13th? Is there other things in the past that have kind of been screwy that sort of be a, you know, maybe it's just not this event, but there are other events. Maybe there's some other, you know, relationship things where people are going to cross generational, like, you know, different stories from different time periods. You know, there's a lot to go into. I think the only thing I'm really concerned about is the singing part. I'm like the dad in Monty Python. He's like, no singing, no singing, no songs here.
Well, like, I'll transition to the bulk of it. What we want out of this. For me personally, I am so ready for Pamela Voorhees' story. Like, I've been waiting for it forever because I love this character, and she was never, you just never got enough of her, and she was just forgotten about. Personally, and that's what I like what you both did. Pamela was a driving force in both your guys' movies in your saga, Vinny, and I'm ready for her. For me, I want to see a real psychotic breakdown. I want to see the characters, like, what is this relationship between Jason and Pamela, and, you know, is there any conflicts with this relationship? I mean, I know I just did a watch party with Davey Deathray, and we were talking about, you know, Betsy Palmer actually did her own backstory of so she could play the part better, about the ring and everything like that, and how she was an outcast and she found a home in Crystal Lake and all that kind of stuff. So I want to see a reimagining, I guess, of what all this is and how this all just fell apart. And all that kind of stuff. And I was also thinking, like, I've been thinking about this what this could be. And I'm also thinking, I want to see how the town is affected. Like, if we look at Friday the 13th part 2 to 4, it essentially happens in a few days. Does it not? Am I not right about that?
Yeah. It's all like a weekend. It's like,
so
Friday to Tuesday.
Technically you could reimagine Ginny being at the hospital, like Ginny, and you could have Chris, and you could have like Higgins Haven, Wessex County, all these locations we saw during those movies, and maybe see what's been going on in the town and how the curses affected the town too, and all that. Like, I just think there's a huge potential here for this thing to be really great. If they do something like that. I don't know if they have. I don't know how much time they'll have. Like, was it going to be like 8 episodes or something like that? But also, like, you know, when they say Camp Blood, I want them to earn that title.
Yes.
Like, when that build up of Pamela, the first movie, essentially, if they build right up to that murder spree, or even the Barry and Claudette one, you know, really building up to the however they do it. I want to see a real massacre, like, you know what I mean? But James, I'll start with you. Like, what do you want to see out of this, or what you don't want to see?
Well, one of the things that I was always intrigued about by the first film was what what put Crazy Ralph into his mindset? Like,
Yeah.
what drove him to be so paranoid and warn people? Like, what did he see? What's the story there for Crazy Ralph? That's one of the things I've because he realistically in part 1 and 2, he was pretty iconic, right? I mean, he's a pretty memorable character, what he brought. And I'd love to see more of that, especially like a younger version with the I guess one of the things I'm curious on too is, are they going to stick with the same time frame, or are they going to shift it to a more 80s style?
I think it is
writing?
going to be. I think the casting call wasn't it like 70s. They're looking for. It's like going to be in the late 70s, possibly early 80s. On the
Yeah.
Friday the 13th
Late
franchise.
70s. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's late 70s.
Which I like. I think that's great. I think Jason.
I don't mind a time slide like that to make
Yeah.
it line up if they wanted, eventually for it to become something they could shoot in the modern day. Just like it's like, again, like they're going to do human Jason. So it's going to be interesting to see how far they let this timeline go, because eventually he's going to get old, unless they kill him and he comes back from the dead, and then we get to have some real fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, was there ever a relationship between Steve Christie and Alice?
Yeah.
What's going on there? What's that little backstory?
Yeah.
I always wondered if, there's other things too, like with Pamela, the crux. And actually I had this conversation with Brian Fuller when I got to talk to him, and he agreed, like, the thing that, like, we kind of were both locked in on was the fact that, like, no matter whatever happens with this series, it all comes down to the relationship. It all is born from Jason and Pamela's relationship.
Exactly.
It's born out of their bond. And I think that that's one thing that James did in his film. That's one thing that I tried to focus on in my film, that it's all about the mother. It's all about that connection. It's all about them being forged in fire, the single mother. Like, that's why I always said that, like, keep Elias out of the conversation, like no male father figures. It's just, single mother and son in a time when this is looked down upon, being dismissed at every turn, and all they have is each other. But there's this also underlying current that's going on between them, which is, Pamela as, a young woman with a son who wants connection outside of the relationship that has with her child. Like, and, in this version, she's got the singing career that she used to have that she had to give up, which I'm not like a huge fan of. I feel like if there was something in her life where, like, she just wanted to find actual love. She wanted to have an actual family. She wanted to be in a place where she fits in. But anytime she sort of goes after those things and tries to fit in, something with Jason happens that sort of spoils that. And then anytime Jason wants to be normal and he wants to fit in with the other kids and he wants to go out there and have a normal life and not be this weird, disfigured weirdo who everybody thinks is this, like, child, he's actually not that bad. But every time he goes to do that, his mother is overbearing and overprotective, or he gets bullied by these kids and things don't turn out well. And, or he ends up scaring someone's wife or daughter or something like that, and they have to move on. And sort of this, like, there's going to be this building tension between them about, like, maybe my life would be better if I wasn't in your life type thing. Maybe you're better off without me. Maybe I'm better off without you. Which is like I think something the relationship will eventually build to. And then there's going to be a separating of ways, or there's going to be a thing where, like, Pamela's like, the Christies are going to convince Pamela, like, you can trust Jason with us. Jason will be safe here at Camp Crystal Lake. You can go and enjoy your singing career. You can go out on this date. You can go and have a life because we're watching your child now. He is safe. And then he takes a swimming lesson and drowns, and no one takes accountability for it. And it is her attempt to go have a real life that creates guilt within Pamela, because the minute she took her eyes off her son, which she knew was a bad idea, she couldn't trust those people. And all those people that told her that they were going to take care of her and her son, when it came time to take accountability for their own actions, they turned their back on her and told her to get over it. And so now that's what's going to turn the rage into something that becomes beautiful. And like you said, like, when it comes time for it to earn the name Camp Blood, when they do the, James, you're better with names on this. Who are the two kids who get killed? Barry and Claudette. Oh, Barry and Claudette.
Yeah.
So that's that aftermath. I mean, we see them get stabbed, like, in the beginning of the movie, but I think when they do this TV show, like, Camp Blood, their entrails better be hanging from the ceilings. Like,
Not
she
only
should be in
that, not
Yeah.
only that, maybe the whole she does a whole murder spree on the camp. It's not just them. It's a bunch of people. You know, our Dave McRae, years and years and years ago, he did his version of like bringing back Friday the 13th, and he did a great video on like not only does she kill them, there's
Mhm.
fires, the kids are all lost in the woods, and all this like it's this anxiety induced insanity. Anyways, I just want to give a shout out to him because he had some really good
Yeah, no, and
they
that's great.
top of his head, right?
And I
I
always
remember
thought,
listening to that.
yeah, I'll have to go back and listen to that too. But I think that like one of the things that I've pitched in the past is that like there could be a truncation of the events of Friday the 13th where maybe they don't go like, oh, there's Barry and Claudette, and then there's, 7 or how many years pass? I think 13 years pass. I think it's 57 or 58 to 79 or something like that. So 11 or 12 years pass. And there's a couple of instances of sabotage and all that stuff that like, this is a one summer deal. Like like they could kind of work it in a way that like Alice is an active like counselor in the years that Jason is there. They bring those two events together, that at the end of the first one, it's like when they think Jason drowned. And I think that this would help explain away that where did Jason go if he drowned all for those years and he just disappeared into the woods and never came back? That wouldn't make any sense. That if it was something where he was presumed drowned, he either ran away or was lost. And she goes through that. She starts with Barry and Claudette and starts killing more people over the course of the week or like over the course of time. And it turns into that massacre in that one instance. There is no passage of time between the two, her coming back 10 years later. That it's, let's say Jason ran away and made everybody think that he died so his mother could go live the life. And so she flipped out, and then he comes back and realized, oh my God, I ran away and I caused this to happen.
That's interesting.
And now my mom's dead. What did I do? And now we have a traumatized Jason that is alive. That makes sense of why he was gone and didn't go away for so long. And maybe it could work for years. That I'm sure there's ways to massage that story, but I feel like that's sort of what's going to get built up. And one thing that like 2009 didn't explain, and I think that was one of the big faults of it, is they didn't dive into that. But like, well, where was that Jason coming from in the Killer Cut? How many years was he, like, where did he come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it was very vague.
Very vague. It was too vague. It was just trying to gloss over it, when this is what the series is going to do. It's going to shine a magnifying glass on this event to say what actually happened to Jason. And if you go back to the original script, Jason Voorhees did drown. And Victor Miller will say it. Sean Cunningham will say it. Everybody who involved with that first movie will say Jason drowned. Jason died. So this would be a huge retcon if they do it this way, and it will be an alternative universe. And I think that there's sort of a way to condense that. And then if they condense that to season 1, season 2 picks up with Packanack and Jason. And then you get to just play with Jason for a few seasons until they get into a place where they kill him, sort of like in a similar series. And then when they do the films, they bring him back undead style, or his death wasn't what we thought it was, and he comes back again. And then we get films. And I think that's what I'm looking for. I really haven't gone in, like, you guys were talking about the things you don't want to see though, right? I think I was off topic.
Well, no, I said it's stuff you don't want to see, like, or stuff you do want to see. Like, I like what you're talking about, even if the Christies are, or maybe one of the Christies' kids was responsible for him.
Oh, totally.
Right.
Well,
and
Steve,
then you get,
it should be Steve. Steve should be a kid counselor, I think.
Yeah.
I think Steve, or maybe Steve, I don't know how that would work, but I think that there should be an elder generation of Christies to be like, this is something that was passed down generation to generation.
It's kind of like, you guys are familiar with Stir of Echoes?
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon. So, when they find the girl, and the parents were protecting the kids when they raped her because they had scholarships, something like that. That. So they're protecting Steve Christie, let's say, and this is what really sets her off. I think. Yeah, I'm down for that. And at the same time, though, I honestly don't know how I feel really about Jason taking off. I like your idea, like him taking off like that. I think it makes sense. I guess I want to see that event of him drowning. like in real time. Like,
yeah, and that's the other,
yeah,
but that's the other thing though. It's like, and
it's
that's what
like
I'm saying. Like,
like
if that works and that settles the story, but now it's that thing of like Jason never really drowned. We never saw that moment. So, but maybe we see. I think one of the cool things I'd love to see is that Jason is a lot smarter than people give him credit for. I don't think
yeah.
he is mentally diminished. I don't think he's dumb at all. I actually think he's probably very smart and bright and cunning. And I think that's going to come out in the series. I think it's going to show that people underestimate Jason, as that's their problem with him, is they don't understand that there's something underneath him beyond the way he looks, that he's actually pretty gifted and smart and is actually a sweet young boy. You know, he was such a sweet boy type thing. And it's only when this traumatic event happens that it triggers him to follow in his mother's footsteps and kind of do this stuff. But I think that, yeah, no, I mean, that's sort of like where I'm at on that. I would say that like things I'm not looking forward to, you know, like I said, I don't want to see a father. I don't give a shit about Elias.
Me either, really.
Get that story out quick. Like, get that
Yeah.
dude out quick. I don't think Pamela doesn't need to do anything with him or do anything to him. I just think it's something that, like, you know, I don't even think we really dive into that too much. I don't want to see the abusive alcoholic. I don't want to see Rob Zombie's Halloween. You know, I
don't want to see
silly.
that either. That's for
I
sure.
think that's silly. I think that it's interesting if she's a singer and she's a traveling singer and she's singing in these nightclubs and she's got Jason in the back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's an interesting dynamic. I'm sort of open to that idea, but it's a little odd to me.
Yeah. Well, it's the fact that they said that in that article tells me that it's not just she's not just sitting there going to be singing Kumbaya. It's not there for that. It has to be there for some bigger purpose, I would think. You know what I mean? And and I'm like, it's Ronnie, you guys, it's funny. It's got to be there for a bigger purpose. And so
Yeah.
I think the way you're extrapolating, I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe like from what we gather from the first and second movie, she seemed like a stern mother too, because when she goes, Jason, mother is talking to you, it was a very low, stern kind of like, I'm just extrapolating from what we know of her.
Maybe Jason's got ADHD.
Yeah.
Look at me. I think that yeah, no, I think the thing I don't want to see is I don't want to see Pamela ever. I don't know, maybe I don't know, like it would hurt me to see Pamela like look at Jason and be like, I wish I never had you. Like building the relationship to that type of arc, to being where like you like I should have never had, like you ruined my life, you ruined my career, and that's what makes Jason run away. You know, I feel like that's a broken relationship, and that's they have to be
It's the
bonded.
bond.
That has to be the bond. They have to.
Yeah.
You literally have to create a bond so tight and love so strong that death cannot keep them apart. That's how strong that bond has to be.
Oh, you should. Have you heard Davey Deathray's little spark on his channel? He talks about how Pamela almost, she doesn't let it happen, but she almost, the drownings almost turns this little blind eye, like just hesitates just slightly, where she's like, well, like she was there, because Davey told me, like, when she's going, I'm here, Jason, and she's remembering like she was there that day. And I was like, well, she did say she was there. I was the cook. I was cooking. I was working the day that it happened. So she was in the camp, but it was kind of a wild idea by Davey. I said, I think fans would not like that.
For her them drown.
Yeah, for her
No.
to allow something to happen. If he's still in the chat, he could write his
yeah. I think if
idea.
anything, it's sort of like her nightmare. It's the nightmare that she's like in her sleep, in her waking dreams. That she just imagines her young boy calling out for help, and she's not there. And she just hears him continually calling out for help and no one there for him, and she should have been there for him. And I think that rumination would make anyone crazy. I had this thought one time for one of the millions of Friday the 13th script ideas that I had, that like the sense of like one night Pamela would be down at the end of the dock, a lot like the way that James has her, and Jason
and
Rising, she has that great shot of her at the end of the dock, but that like she's praying, she's praying to her God and saying, God, please, like, I would give you anything to bring my son back. But the only thing is, if there's a narrator, they'd be like, but what Pamela didn't know is that the wrong God was listening. And when she comes back and she gets killed on that beach, that when she gives her life up, that it's her life for his, and that's her life that brings him back from the bottom of that lake. And that's what brings Jason back on shore. And that's what brings him back and creates what is the walking death curse. And that's what I came up with Never Hike Alone, and what I believe the Jason and Never Hike Alone to be. Like, that's and me looking back on parts 1 through 8 being like, what is the only way you connect all these series together and all these things happening? It's like, if you go the supernatural realm. And I think that that's such an easy, iconic image. And I think Bill Hunt even did this beautiful painting of it in like 2019. That's sort of the exchange that happens. It's like her death is like, and her death and her rage is what passes on to him, who's still like in the lake, and he hasn't passed on because he can't pass on without his mother. That's what sort of like links them. And that's why she can hear him. And that's sort of like this moment where she prayed and made a wish. It's just that dark and evil forces heard that wish, and not the good and the light, because it was born out of revenge and hate. And I guess that would be a way to sort of approach it.
Yeah, I'll put Ronnie back up there. The Bond has to. I agree, Ronnie. Bond has to be there. It makes zero sense for her to go crazy over his death if she resented him. I think there's room for some tension to grow between them. Like, I always go back to the Bates Motel. That template was such a good show. They modernized it, but they didn't bastardize it at all. It was still, and you got to see, except for it's the opposite, you got to see what the mother was really like, where we always just speculated what she was like in his mind. Right. And we got to kind of see what she was really like. And now we could get a chance to see what Jason was really like as before he drowned and everything like that. And I don't know how long they're gonna play. Like, third episode, he drowns. The end of the first, mid-season. I don't know.
Maybe it's the opening scene.
Yeah, that's
what I mean. Maybe we're playing back and forth in time, and we're going part of the season is leading up to his drowning, and the other part is playing off what happens after his drowning. And those two events are sort of linking up in between. Which is a show that I'm watching now that kind of does that.
You think there'll be a lot of flashbacks? Like, there'll be a lot of time jumping?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
When I was working with Tom McLaughlin on the Diary of Pamela Voorhees that we started writing together, the opening of it was the birth of Jason. That was the first thing that we saw. And the one thing that, after Jason's born, she's holding him, the doctor is describing all the issues with Jason, and she doesn't hear that. She just says he's perfect. That's all she sees in his eyes. She sees that perfect child. So she never sees his flaws. So that's, and it's that, I think, that creates that bond is she doesn't see his deformities like other people would. She doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys are making all these great points. Like, this thing could be, I think we could all agree we need this to be fleshed out, though. I think that's what I think Brad Caleb Kane is going to do that. And from what I've gathered, if I'm wrong, Vinny, let me know. They're keeping a lot of what Brian Fuller has already established. Are they not? Like,
I wouldn't be able to say yes or no on it.
Okay. I was just
because they had to go through rewrites. And here's the thing. From what I understand, from what Brad explained to me, not to say he explained what happened afterwards, but the way he was describing the show to me and what he wanted to accomplish, that was a very expensive show. A very expensive show. And like, he wanted to shoot it on film, like wanted to go all out. And I think that he got hit with a mandate to cut back the budget, which would impact his vision. And he didn't want to spend the time to pull that back. So he moved on to other projects that he's probably connected with and doing now. And whatever Brad did, he was at least going to have to come in and scale it back. Because I believe the budget that they talked about pre-actor writer strike got cut in half. by the time they got back from the writer's strike and got back out there and went out there. And there was even instance for a little while where some of the writers hadn't even been paid yet and they had written episodes. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's an interesting thing. I think that's something to keep an eye out for, from the standpoint of not just like watching the film, but watching how the production comes together. If the fans are in for that ride, I wonder how, like at the end of the episode, I mean, not the end of the episode, but the end of the first season, it's going to be a question of how much are they following Brian's template, because there is a very specific template, and I'm going to keep an eye on that too. And how much of it has been rewritten from, how much of it is Brad rewritten from a conceptual things that are changing the lore and changing the trajectory of the series versus what Brad had. I mean, versus what Brian had. Some of the characterizations of how he saw Pamela, some of those characterizations that he described to me were very fun. I think that, Pamela would have been like, I mean, I think people would have been cheering her on every week the way he was describing her. I mean, she sounded ruthless. And it was really cool. I was really excited for that. But who knows what Brad has in store? You know what I mean? Like Brad may have a different approach. And like I said, like at the top of this show, the more they get out there and they interact with fans and they're a little bit more like on camera and a little bit more like kind of, and maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't want to bring that forward, but I feel like fans want to get to know them a little bit. And I think that it would be nice to kind of get a little bit more of them because, Brian's very, he's very out there, he's on social media a lot. He's posting a lot. He's very vocal. We see him talking about things all the time, getting mixed in, and like you hear his opinion on stuff. So I think that, I just think that we'd want to see more and know more about Brad because we're going to look up to him. Like we did all these other past directors, and the way we look up to, James talking about Tom McLaughlin, the way that we revere these people who get to touch the franchise in this way. It's like, at some point they do what they do and they move on, but we have this reverence for them. So it's like, we want to get like Vinny Guastafari told me, he's like, no matter what these people do in their careers, it always comes back to Friday the 13th. So if he's bonding himself with Friday the 13th, he's going to be a part of the Friday the 13th franchise for the rest of his life. Like he should start opening up to fans now, because whether he likes it or not, they're coming, and I'm sure James can attest to that. Like the amount of people that reach out to us, like, can you imagine the amount of people that reach out to them?
So when I started following him, everything he posts Friday related, I'm like putting a like on it and saying my piece and everything like that. But again, I don't know anything about this. He does the Dairy Show, right? He was the
Welcome to
showrunner.
Dairy. Yeah, welcome to Dairy. He also worked on Tokyo Vice, which I love.
I don't know that.
Black Sails.
Black Sails.
Oh, was he on Black Sails? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that. I haven't seen it, but but yeah, I'm hoping for Jason's birthday, June 13th. That's not that long away. It would be, I don't know if we're gonna get this, but it'd be nice to see if they get Linda Cardellini in this in an outfit or in character, just a photo. Even if it's just a photo, that'd be nice.
She has one outfit; it's a sweater, right? That's all.
Like, because I don't think they're even shooting. So
5 sweaters in a closet.
Yeah,
like a cartoon character.
Ronnie says, "What if Jason has no deformities in the series? Does that still work?"
I give him. I answer.
That's funny. I'll let everyone see this kid. They're not looking. What if he has a massive schlong and everyone's jealous?
That's what happens when you have these guys in the chat. It's just gonna devolve.
What if they're all in the archery range? They're all missing, and Jason just freaking lines one up as a kid.
That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, great points.
Yeah, I mean, I think even when we're not on podcasts, I mean, James and I are on it. We have our own, James. We have our own Jason Rising chat. That's me, him, and Carl, and so we're talking about this stuff all the time too. I mean, it's like, I'm sure everyone in this chat does, and we have our friends who we talk about locally with horror, our chats that we're on horror, our Facebook groups, and I just think whether or not you love or hate anything that's going on with the series or anything that, we can get in the series and maybe it doesn't come up to, our full fruition, but at least we get to talk about it every week. And I think in the long run, what fans just don't want is another like 5 years of dormancy. If something doesn't work, it's like, if something doesn't work, let's put it to bed. Let's try something else. because there's definitely something out there that is going to work. If we can make fan films that have been as popular as they have, I think the studios can come up with something, and I think it would be cool if we could start combining ideas. You know what I mean? It's like,
well, the fact that the fact that Linda Cardellini's cast and they're casting all the I can only assume that I can only assume they're locking people down now. We just haven't heard of it yet.
yeah, no, they're going to start rolling. I mean, in classic Hollywood fashion, a lot of this stuff has already happened months ago. Like that Lisa signing was probably happened it probably happened a while before that. And there's probably people that are already attached. There's probably people that are already locked in, or they're in negotiation. They're, they're just waiting for their deals to lock. But all like this concept art has probably been done for a long time. We've seen that mask for a long time. So, there's a big question. It's like, what have they got completed behind the scenes that we don't know about yet? And that's going to be the big question that fans are going to be talking about moving forward. And I think we're going to be having a lot of discussions like this one, and probably more frequently, which is great for us. You know what I mean? It's about time that the Friday heads got a chance to take center stage and talk about this franchise that we love so much.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about because once we start getting images rolling through, I remember like with all the Halloween stuff, as soon as a Michael Myers at the top of the stairs or some weird image or speculation, oh, is this the flashback? Is it not? Man, it was just blowed up. And I said, I want that. We need our turn now. We want freaking some, especially like the first image of Jason as a kid. I think that's going to be pretty exciting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's going to be, I think it's going to light channels on fire.
Oh yeah,
but so
anything involving Jason, anytime Jason even inches his way towards a screen, our eyes are going to be glued. And look at they release a piece of concept art, and it took obviously because we're Friday the 13th fans and we got the algorithm that does that, but I in all the years, even with Never Hike Alone stuff, like today's news about the new release of yesterday's news about the new release of the Jason Voorhees thing, it looking so close to Ghost Jason, my social media hasn't stopped. I haven't been able to keep up.
Yeah, I haven't seen it all over the place, and I was just like, holy crap! And this is just concept art. Wait till we get the first real image of the show.
Yeah,
even if it's just, I don't know, the camp. You know what I mean? Just an exterior shot of the camp or the sign, or anything.
The signage. Once it starts to feel real, once we start to see the paint on the cabins, and we start seeing people in costume, and we start seeing logos, and we don't have official logos, we don't have official one sheets, looks, nothing. The only thing we've gotten officially so far is the title of the episode 1, not title, but we've seen the script for episode 1, and we've seen a casting call. On a New Jersey acting forum for I can't remember what they called it, but it was something that was obviously Crystal Lake. But so it's like that's all we know right now. It's set in the 70s, and Brad Campbell is writing, and Linda Cardellini is Pamela.
I got a new logo.
You got a new logo. You did.
That's sweet. James, sweet.
I'll put logos out.
Yeah.
All right. Scared. What we got here? Just another horror fan. Just strolled in. Have you guys talked about the New Jersey casting call sheet? Yeah, we did. We touched on it
a little bit.
A little bit. But all right, let's switch gears a little bit. I'm a massive Predator fan. I've been a Predator fan for a very long time. I even, for all its ups and downs, I like the franchise as a whole too. Obviously the first movie's like one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. But I'll start with you, James. What do you love about the story? Certain story when you first watched Predator? Did it blow you away like it did me?
All right. So, yes, I remember I was a sophomore in high school, and I was in metal shop class, and this kid was creating. This thing was like a boat anchor, but he was creating this Predator mask out of metal, where he was. I don't even know how to describe it, but it wasn't great by any means. And I was like, what the hell are you building, man? He goes, this is Predator. I'm like, what is that? So I finally watched Predator, and that was it. I was in love. I wasn't on the Friday the 13th chat forums. I was in what was called the Hunter's Lair, which was a Predator forum.
That's awesome.
and I built costumes. I went and built a Predator costume. Yeah, I'm 5'10", but I'll put on some Kiss boots and get a little taller for that costume because I wanted to be a Predator. But no, I fell in love with that character and Stan Winston. And when I was doing haunted houses back in the day, I met a guy named Jim Lawrence who worked for Morris Costumes, and I was able to purchase from him a reject from the original helmet that was fiberglass, and I had that for one of my costumes, and I don't have it anymore, but it was pretty cool because you could, back then, this was before a lot of the masks were created, everybody's doing them now, but this was back in, the early 90s when I got this thing, and not a lot of people knew the difference between the real mask. There was a little odd scrunch in the nose area of the original Predator mask. It was like a deformity, and that you could tell one that is fake, But I'm huge Predator fan.
Vinny.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up watching the original Predator like on repeat, and I remember when the video game came out on NES, and I was watched Terminator and all the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone movies, so I was kind of totally into that. But I think what really won me over was Predator 2. I think that seeing like the concept of an expanded Predator world, other predators, other weapons, it was I love that movie in general, but I just think it was just sort of like the mythos and the world building of how do you say it? Yakuza?
I think it's Yakuza. I think Yakuza, I think.
Instead of Yakuza, it's Yakuza.
Yeah, Yakuza.
I thought it was
okay.
Yakuza?
Okay.
Yeah.
It might be that, yeah.
Or those Jamaican motherfuckers. No, I'm just kidding. With their dreads. No, but I mean, I was just like, wow, these are like the coolest. Like the costume is cool. The tech is cool. They're dangerous. They are animalistic. They are aliens, but they're also like, you know what I mean? It was just like, they're just the coolest looking, like probably bar none for me, one of the, if not the coolest design of any character ever. It's like the Predator.
We almost got Van Damme.
Yeah, Van Damme and the fucking cockroach suit.
Can you imagine seeing the Van Damme version?
Oh my! That would have ruined the entire movie. We wouldn't have Predator 2, 3, 4, and Alien versus Predator, none of that stuff.
It would have been fucking done.
Yeah, so I think that like in terms of like Predator, I mean I was hooked since the first two, and then like AVP was fine, and Requiem was fine, and Predators was whatever, and The Predator was whatever, and it was just like they never really captured the spirit of the first two.
No, I don't think so either.
And then Prey came out, and I loved Prey. Maybe I shouldn't admit this thing, but I was like, I had some mushroom chocolate before I watched that, and I was like vibing hard. Like when that Predator revealed its face, I was like at my peak, and I was like, oh my God, what is that thing? And I had a beautiful time, but I think it's such a well shot movie. I think it's such a well told movie. I think it went back to the Predator basics. I think it was, again, an expansion on the Predator world. I was learning new things about the Predator that were really interesting, seeing different tech, seeing different weapons. And that's the cool thing about the Predator world. So with Badlands coming out, I'm excited. And this is the one thing I think James and I, like, we probably all agree on. It's like, I've always just wanted to see, based on some of the comics that we've had from Dark Horse, now I want to see some Predator stories. I want to see a full, like I'll watch the whole thing with subtitles. Yeah, there he is. You know what I mean? Like let's get into their world. Let's start telling Predator stories. So the fact that they're doing this, I'm super excited.
It's kind of funny that Predator Badlands, we got a little more about it. We'll get into, but me and my buddy talk about Predator all the time. We're big Predator fans. And I've always said, why not like
son of a bitch?
Yeah. Why not a disgraced predator who they just put on this planet, and he has to show him like he has to become worthy. Let's
Mhm.
say something like that, where you just follow him, and so we're
There it
getting
is.
something. There it is. We're getting something. It looks like that. So I think we're calling him the Runt Predator.
Mhm.
Which I'll show him now. I know I've heard Vinny's thoughts on this, but maybe my chat hasn't. But I'm not as disgusted by this as some people are.
It's a young predator. He's going to grow into his look.
I think that's what he's going like. That's what it looks like to me. Now it almost looks Viking like this hair here.
Mhm.
I don't know if you watch the show The Vikings, but their hair is kind of like that. I've seen people redo this image and put the hair behind like the skull there, and it does look a little better. But maybe we just don't know enough about what they're doing yet
Mhm.
with this. But how do you feel about like? I think this is in good hands with Dan Trachtenberg. After what he did with Prey, I completely trust
Absolutely.
what he's doing. I know a lot of people don't like this look. I'm not like. I don't think it's the greatest look, but I don't dislike it either. I guess I'm in the middle of it because I think we may forget about the look once you start getting engaged with this movie.
Mhm.
Like you said, Vinny, earlier with the like we haven't seen anyone in this Jason mask yet. How do we know it could? We haven't seen someone don it and work it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely excited about this story. Now, Vinny, you said something that really interesting, and I completely agree with you on one of your shows, I believe. I forget. I think it was your show.
Yeah.
About I hope it's in his language, like, and they're not speaking English.
Yeah, I don't want.
I hope they do that too.
Yeah, no,
Like-
and that's going to be the interesting thing. It's like, are they going to? And I wonder if a lot of it's going to be unspoken. How much of it really needs to be said? Now you have Ellie Fanning, and so she's sort of playing that role of, and I can't remember the name of the actress or the role from AVP, but sort of like, I was watching that the other day. Actually, I kind of put it on just for background noise, and I was just sort of watching how they interacted, and the fact that she sort of like talked things out that helped the audience understand what was going on. I feel like everything that's going on between Predators, there'll probably be subtitles. There's probably very little dialogue between them. There's probably more like commands and barks, and there's not a lot of like soliloquies and like back and forth and like heartfelt like monologues and their screaming language. And roars and clicks and all that stuff. I think that they're going to keep that stuff to like, what are you doing here, Runt? And it's going to be like, Father.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get a lot of that stuff. And I feel like Ellie Fanning is going to be our narrator. So it's smart, and the fact, it's cool that they're tying in Whalen to this and that this is one universe now. This is big.
It feels like there's been a lot of speculation, I think was it Trachtenberg said
yes
he would love to work with his buddy Fetty Alvarez.
Well, I think it was the other way around. Fetty said
Fetty said it. Okay,
yeah, during Romulus, during the Romulus.
Yeah, my apologies, and maybe they're building something to that.
I bet they would be.
Those two directors working together on an Alien Predator movie, like one that we really want, like not one that just has fan service to the whole thing, and something that's actually has a good story to it and everything. Yeah,
like comics.
And full disclosure, I never really read the comics. I'm going on just by movies, but I can imagine the comic. The movie. I would imagine. Now, I love the Wolf Predator though in Requiem. Like I like that. I like the I think
was a good design,
and his character too. Like when he
was a badass.
He was a badass, and when he shows some honor with a dead predator in the ship when he first and he kind of just goes and he kind of snarls a bit, like he's got this little growl, like, but he was taken out. What do you call it? Those aliens like nothing. Like this was there's like a chain of command almost. Like he was an elite predator. Then there's the elders, and there's the runts. Well, we're gonna find out what a runt's like, I guess.
You know what movie I want? I want Predator in a story like John Wick. I just want a Predator to get his John Wick story. That's what I want. I want to see a fucking Predator taking out 100 different people in 90 minutes. I just want to see every single tool in his tool belt. I want the entire bat belt to just every bat gadget that he's got, every pred gadget every weapon, everything. And I just want to see him tear through a bunch of people and different aliens and xenomorphs. Like that would be my fan service. Predator film would be the John Wick of Predator movies.
But Predator 2, when you see the ship, all the skulls in it, not just the alien one. There's one there that looks like the head on it is massive. You're like, how did he kill that thing?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we see even in the Badlands trailer, we see him going up against this giant, like, that's a dinosaur. You know what I mean? He's about to fight a dinosaur, but that's what we love about these predators, that they're the ultimate hunters, and and I think that's an interesting thing. Obviously, when we put them in stories about humans, we're rooting for the humans because we don't want to become their prey, but you send them to another big game planet, or you send them to another thing where we get to watch them fight something else, and how their culture interacts with each other, and what kind of world do they come from, and how does things work on their world. I want to go there.
Yeah, me too. That's what I want to
spend some time there. I want to see how it works.
Yeah, for sure. I want them to see the expansion of the lore.
What does a Starbucks look like on Yakuza Island? You know what I mean? What's their bathrooms look like? How do they go to the bathroom? Like, let's see it all. The whole class.
Yeah, I hope we get to see a lot more, but Trachtenberg's also supposed to be doing a Prey 2, so it looks like they're in,
and an animated series.
Yeah, the one
that comes
that's
out
soon.
June 6th.
That's soon. Yeah, I think there's we're finally getting a lot of Predator shit. That's what.
Hey,
like,
you know
which
what?
is nice.
I think that this is like our year, I mean, like it sounds like we're all huge Friday the 13th and Predator fans. Like, we just got like a double dose of like our favorite two franchises are going to be up on the block for the next, hopefully next 4 or 5 years, going strong with franchises that we can talk about. Because, like, I mean, I'm a Halloween fan, but I'm not going to get online every week and talk about Halloween. Same thing with Nightmare on Elm Street or any other thing like in the world. Like, I can talk about Godzilla every week. I can talk about Predator every week. I can talk about Friday every day of the week. So, and then there's more Godzilla coming too. So I'm like about to enter like maybe the best years of my life. Then after this, it's all downhill.
Aliens. I mean,
Alien Earth.
Elle Fanning's character is
Romulus too.
She's a
Whalen
synthetic,
Utah.
right?
Yeah.
So from the
Did
trailer,
did you see Timothy Oliphant as a synthetic? He's got to be a synthetic with that hair.
No,
You haven't seen it? They released stills from Alien Earth, and they got Timothy Oliphant. He's got like white hair.
Oh yeah,
and it's like all spiky.
I haven't watched the trailer for that yet. I haven't watched the trailer for that yet. Someone said it looks really good, Jay, a friend of mine. Yeah, like, I mean, there's so many franchises that excited for. I'm a huge Planet of the Apes fan. Love the franchise. Love it. And I love what they did with Kingdom. I don't think it's as good as what Matt Reeves did, but I like where it's going. Like, I think it's in good hands too right now. So
damn dirty apes.
Yeah. I actually like Conquest of the Apes. I think that's a good one too. Like the old one. I like all of them pretty much.
I have that big ass book, the booklet with all the Blu-rays in them.
Oh, nice.
When things first started switching over to Blu-ray, I was working at Real Effects at the time, and we had just built like a beautiful screening room, like brand new projector, brand new Blu-ray player, all this stuff. And I was like, what are we going to watch this weekend? I bought that box set for Planet of the Apes. It came in, and the first Blu-ray I ever watched was like Planet of the Apes projected on like a super HD, beautiful thing. And I had never watched the original Planet of the Apes like that before. I didn't realize how smart the movie was.
I love that movie.
The movie is so good.
Yeah, it's good.
And then I did a deep dive on the whole franchise after that. But it was I love what they did with the trilogy. Was that Reeves? That was Reeves, right?
Yeah,
that was Reeves.
I think so.
Yeah, he did Dawn, and he didn't do the first one, Rise. He did Dawn.
Rise.
He took over Dawn and War.
Yeah,
which were the two best.
Dawn was amazing.
Dawn's one of my favorite movies of all time. It became
Dawn of the Rise of the Planet of the Apes.
Now, Vinny, when I talked to you last years ago now, but you're a big fan of The Raid.
Yeah, huge.
So I want to
fan of it.
know: have you watched Havoc yet?
I
Yeah.
did. I didn't love it. Just being honest, like I'm not going to just be a cheerleader for everything that happens. I don't feel like that was Gareth Evans' best work. I felt like there were elements of it that were cool. It got cool at the end, but it didn't feel as connected and into it as I did his work on The Raid and The Raid 2, where I felt like I was on that journey. I was in that story. I was in that world. I never got really used to the world that was there. It was very I never got into the illusion of it, I guess I could say. It just felt like, okay, this is just people playing with a lot of money and making an action movie. I never felt like I was ever into the story. I didn't believe any of the characters. I didn't really feel for any of the characters. That opening CG chase scene like took me out right away. I was actually very jarred by it.
Really?
Yeah, that opening
I was
scene,
watching it with my wife, and I was actually very engaged. And I'm not a big CGI guy, but so the way he executed that CGI, I thought,
yeah,
wow,
as soon as it came in, I was like, oh, this is all CGI.
Well, you're not the only one who thinks like that. You're not the only one.
Yeah.
But the first thing that comes to my mind was this guy could do a great RoboCop movie after watching that.
Oh, he's a tremendous director. He's tremendous. His action work is like bar none. And I think that, I think with maybe a little like a tighter script, or I don't know, there's something about these Netflix releases, man. There's just something about them that's just not quite right. Like Electric State didn't feel quite right. But another director in that sort of same class that I consider like Evans, Jeremy Saulnier with Rebel Ridge. Now that movie.
That was a good fucking movie.
Like, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, like Rebel Ridge had this sense of like groundedness, but then when it came time to the action, Jeremy did it in a way that was very cool. I mean, he did it. His whole thing was like, I want to try and do a movie where I'm not killing a bunch of people, which was his approach, but the action was really good. But what really made that movie special was that like the lead performance was out of control good. You felt for that character. You like the story kept shifting and changing, and the goal, like it felt kind of really good. Like, Havoc felt like it felt like a script that he maybe pulled from when he was younger and a younger writer, and he wasn't as far along on his ability to build story because it didn't have as strong as a story as something as Rebel Ridge did. And even though it was meant to be more of a popcorn shoot 'em up type flick, which it grows into, it took a long time to get there. And I can't say I was very engaged with what was going on in the film as much as I have been with some of his other work in the past. And so
that's fair.
I mean, I'm not shitting on it at all. I'm just saying it didn't land for me like I thought it was going to land. Although
it's getting mixed. It's getting like, I personally liked it. Now on rewatch, maybe I won't as much, but it would depend. But my first watch, but Rebel Ridge is one my wife told me you got to watch this. So when I started watching it, I went, I'm getting First Blood vibes off this whole fucking, and that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
and I got huge First Blood vibes, and I was like, this is different.
It's different. Great performances all around, and that's what I'm saying. And not that Tom Hardy didn't give a great performance. He just felt so generic. It felt generic, man. I think that was just its only thing. It's just it didn't really stand out in any specific way that it was turning the dirty cop corrupt city, like the way The Raid did. You know what I mean? The way the Raid 2 kind of worked, and the way that was kind of pulling up and doing all this behind the scenes, like organized crime, all this stuff. It didn't really, much of Havoc is like a lot of Havoc is leaning on the fact that like one character doesn't have one key piece of information. So the Yakuza are going around and trying to kill all these people. Not like literally, it's just all it takes is one explanation at the end of the movie. Like, but it wasn't him trying to do it. It was this person instead. And they're like, oh, so I've been doing this the whole time and not realizing it. And it was like, oh, I don't like when films do that.
I called it action on cocaine.
Yeah.
It felt so out of control all the time for the whole movie. And I was only starting near the end where they're spraying bullets at Tom Hardy and he's not even getting hit. I'm like, okay, now you're asking me to suspend disbelief a little too much here because they're just spraying it. But Ronnie says, Jason, you read about the First Blood prequel? I did today. I did.
It was called First Blood.
Oh.
Oh.
I did read about, the guy who did, is it called Sisu?
Oh, Sisu is,
He wants to do a Rambo prequel. Stallone always wanted to do a prequel in
Is this
Vietnam.
like the Vietnam story?
Yeah, this would be that.
Oh.
That's what's
Like his
all
origin
over
story, like his training and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so would I. A lot of I would too.
Who are you
now
casting as the Martin Rambo?
Well, they don't. This is just. It's going into Kane's. They're trying to get money for it. They're going into Kane's festival to try to raise. I don't think it's made yet or anything like that. They want to do it.
Cannes.
They want to.
They're going to Cannes. Yeah, they're going to Cannes to raise foreign pre-sales to try and get some money to get it made.
My dad told me to watch Sisu. I haven't watched it yet, but he told me this guy makes Rambo look like a pussy, and I went,
"Oh yeah." No, but it's a total farce. You know what I mean? Like, and in a way, like what Sisu does is something that Havoc didn't, which is it took action to another level, and it took a character like they do. It's Sisu is more like a John Wick. It's sort of like he's a boogeyman, and he's talked about as a boogeyman. And when the people start realizing that it's Sisu is the one that's sort of traveling across, I believe it's set in Finland or Sweden or Norway. It's sort of like the Norwegian sort of area. I think it's Norway actually. And yeah, that he's like this legend, he's this Nazi killer type guy. And so it's sort of like that thing, and the things that he does to people and the things that he survives and like all this stuff. It's like, it's fun. There's some comedy to it. The situations are really interesting. The way he kills people is really interesting. The way he outsmarts people is really interesting. There's this, I don't even want to spoil anything, but there's this great scene where like he's like underwater and they're trying to get him, and he's doing this thing to like stay underwater a long time, and you're like, wait, what the hell is this? Like, no, but like they go to this place that is just out there, and it's so entertaining. I totally highly recommend that. So if that guy's going after like doing a like Rambo train, like it's the perfect. This is like fans will. This is.
I don't know how far he like. I don't know. It's just. It's going to be one of those things all people are going to start talking about, and people know that my channel is a huge Stallone / Friday the 13th, both those. But anyways, Ronnie, I have heard about it, and Stallone has. I think it's a little too late. He should have done that prequel. Rambo 2 should have been the prequel. I think like they should have actually did a prequel back in the 80s of what Baker Team was like and what all this stuff and what Rambo was like before, he joined the army and stuff, all that kind of stuff. But I'd be down for it. I'll be lying to all of my audience if it said I would refuse this. I wouldn't. I'd be watching. Especially, yeah. For me, it's who is behind the project.
Yeah,
it's always like who's the director. That's what really.
And why do they attach themselves to the project? What is it that brought them to the project? It's like, what is the driving force? What is their passion? If the passion is in the right place, the product will be in the right place. And if the passion is in another place, it's going to be, they're making a film for nobody that exists. So it'll be interesting.
And it'd be nice to see like Delmore Barry and all those people he says in the Trotman says Baker Team. Who were these people? How did they interact? Are we going to see the, what do you call it? The shoe shine box scene. You imagine how brutal that will freaking look on film when he was talking about that. But
get my fucking legs.
Yeah, fucking legs. What about you, James? You've seen anything recently or a modern movie or anything that really just wow, that was an awesome movie? Like,
oh shit. I gotta think.
Sorry to put you on the spot, but
no. I'm trying to. I mean, fuck. Actually, the last thing that has really impressed me was the Andor series. That's the last thing I've been watching.
I hear it's really good.
I mean, Stellan Skarsgård. I mean, my God, that guy is such a good performer.
A lot of people get surprised, but Rogue One is my second favorite Star Wars film. I loved Rogue One. What they did with Rogue One, I actually fell in love with that movie.
It was good. I felt like Rogue One was the closest thing to Star Wars that we got.
Yeah, I call it Saving Private Ryan meets Star Wars. That's what it felt to me. Like it was like this is the war. You know what I mean? Star Wars. But I haven't watched Andor yet, though. But I have actually finally heard good things about a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay,
yes, I have
chat.
seen a movie.
Okay, chat.
Here-
You guys can
Ronnie.
start asking. You guys can start asking questions.
Here's something, Jason, for you.
Oh,
This is Predator 1 and 2. These are the original press kits
that is amazing.
from
I do
20th
have-
Century Fox.
I do
So I
have
got-
my Alien Predator figures in the back, and I got my Never Hike Alone Blu-rays sitting up there.
But I got these a long time ago, and yeah.
You know,
Predator
when we
nerd.
when we went as a family in 1989 to see Batman, it came. You got these promotion booklets, these huge ones, and I don't know. My dad lost them, or when we moved, they got lost. But I would imagine they'd be worth a fortune now. Alley
Might
Girl
be.
says, "Ronnie, be nice." Ever see a movie, James?
No.
No.
That's funny. I'll go back up here. Stallone has said in previous years that Gosling would be his choice to be John Rambo. I've heard him say like he likes him, and I like Ryan Gosling. I think he's a good actor. I think you can play a lot of different things.
Yeah. I mean, Fall Guy was great.
That felt like an 80s action movie, an over the top 80s. That's what I loved about it so much.
I think Baby Goose can do it.
Dominic says, is it true in a filmmaker's career that some films overperform and some underperform?
Totally.
I would say so.
Yeah. I don't know anyone who's like batting 1,000 for movies. I can't think of anyone who made a perfect movie every time they went out. Not even Kubrick.
Alley Girl says Frank Grillo would be a good Rambo right now.
Yeah, I think Frank Grillo would take over like an older Rambo, but I think for young Rambo, him, Jake Gyllenhaal, wouldn't be so bad.
Batman 89 was such an event. I miss event movies. Yeah, they were. They felt like freaking. They felt like huge events. These movies, like there was a build up to them.
Yeah, I remember when you used to have to like go wait in line to go see a movie or get tickets early or like do all this stuff. And like I love the fact that you can reserve seats and do all that stuff. And I remember when you had to reserve stuff pretty quickly. Right now the distribution stream and the way the distribution model is for people and what kids are watching and what people like, because I mean, youth really drives the excitement for the cinema, and the youth is not really excited about the cinema because they grew up on streaming and COVID and staying inside and staring at screens and never going outside or going anywhere to do anything. Everything comes to them. So, you know, I think.
Yeah, you make a good point. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've asked my kids, "Do you want to go see a movie?" No, I can wait for it.
Yeah, I'll wait till it comes on Netflix. I'll watch it at home.
I'll watch it at home. I said, now some they I think they're gonna want to see Link when they do that. I know they're doing a Link movie, and because they like all that stuff, they like all that video game stuff.
We don't have that same vibe in the theaters nowadays. I mean, shit. When I was a kid and Return of the Jedi came out, there were lines around the theater. I mean, it's just not the same anymore. You know, it's just so different.
Well,
can you imagine what a theater would have looked like? Let's say if they were able to take the Mandalorian series, say, and turn that into like 3 different movies. And in the last movie of this trilogy that they do of like this Baby Yoda story, Luke Skywalker shows up at the end of the movie. Do you know?
Oh, it would have erupted
in those theaters. I was sitting in my own home crying. I can't believe I'm watching this. Can you imagine what that would have been like as a theater experience? The fact that we all had to experience it in our own homes alone and not do that with other fans who love cinema. That's what's going on. That's what we're robbing each other of. I mean, I remember. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Prey. Why wasn't it in the theater?
Dude, that's like the
widescreen shots. That like, man, they should put that back at the theater for the new one.
They should. I mean, prior up to it, I mean, if they don't, that's just a mistake. They're losing out on money. I've been asking to see this movie on the big screen since it came out.
Well,
and a lot of fans have.
The modern thing is the YouTube reaction videos now. that's kind of the modern take of it. But like you're saying, we lost that crowd interaction with, that audience feel
Yeah,
when
But
you're
why do we want to watch
experiencing it.
one person reacting to it?
Right.
What is this? Like, come on.
Yeah, it's
It's
definitely the
I don't think we
experience.
should bully people, but the bullies were there for a reason.
Yeah.
They kept stupid shit like that at bay. We actually
Yeah,
went out and did
it's
normal things.
yeah, right. And you know what? There's not very often you have a great theater experience where the crowd's interacting with the movie. Like I remember
You
back in
can't
the
fake
days.
that.
Yeah. I remember seeing What Lies Beneath back in 2000, and when Harrison Ford does his big reveal, the crowd got so into that movie at the end of that, like they were yelling and screaming. I remember that. Or when the first Expendables come out, that whole third act, the theater erupted. Like there was guys getting up and cheering. Like I remember when Buddy has that big gun and blown away and everything like that. So, and actually, James, Return of the Jedi was my first theater experience. I was 4, and I
Oh,
can
wow.
still remember that end space battle, like just mesmerizing me.
Yeah, I saw the original one in the theater. Not to give away my age, but
YouTube reactions, Rotten Tomatoes are the devil. Reactions are. I mean, if you get a really nice, genuine reactor, I can watch it. But I think
A lot of it is
well,
performance art. Like they're just putting on a show. Apparently, like everything's about like,
yeah.
like come
See, I don't act like
on.
that. When I see something, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Or if I get excited about something, I don't act
wanna
like
be in the
that
room.
for sure.
I want to be in the room with everybody. Let's all cheer. Have fun.
Yeah.
Like I wish I could have been in the room for people like, that to have the experience of like seeing people see Tommy for the first time, at Telluride Horror Show, and hearing about it too, about like all the different places that like huge cheers come up and stuff like that. Like to collectively share that with somebody else in the audience is a big deal. And I think that one way that we can sort of preserve that, I think, is that if they bring back the idea of the road show, about touring a film like they tour, like bring the actors on tour, show it in 5 major cities, 10 major cities, and each time maybe it's a different movie, maybe it's a different cut in a couple of places, or there's an experience that goes along with it, because then you got people being like, and that's basically what happens now with premieres. You know what I mean? Like they do these premieres for movies that are going to premiere on streaming, but they have premieres where they invite social media people to come walk the red carpet, and they don't even let them into the theater. It's insane, because they just want people doing social media stuff and doing social media reels and TikToks, and I just don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just old. I just don't. It's just not entertaining to me.
Oh, I agree.
Ronnie, let's
agree,
kick these nerds' asses.
Yeah.
The Ballad of Baby Oil. That's my.
I would doubt the
song.
theater. I would doubt you're gonna get a very good theater experience where the crowd really interacts like they used to. I mean, when we went and saw, my wife and I, Kingdom of the Apes, I won the tickets. I just entered something online and went, oh, I won. And Kevin was it Durant? Anyways, he was there.
Oh,
he was
like
there, and he showed you. Yeah, no, the guy who played the ape in it. The main.
Yeah.
I think his name's Kevin Durant.
It's a wonderful day.
Yeah, he did that. He showed you how he walked like an ape and stuff like that, and it was really fun. I go, if I could watch every movie like that, where you get to see the actor do a Q&A, that's a lot of fun.
With someone in the Q&A, like, as someone who identifies as an ape-like person, I'm offended.
But but yeah, I don't think this generation really.
Yeah, that will probably get me canceled.
It may be boring for them, the theater. I don't know.
No, it is, because what are they going to do? Sit in one place for 1 hour and not move and not look at their phone and not interact with something else other than just to shut off for like an hour and a half and just disappear into another world and then come back an hour later? I mean, you can't do that anymore. I even, like, as someone who's a moviegoer, I struggle with it. Like, I'm sitting in the theater, my hand's like on my phone, like ready to flip it over, and I'm like, why? I'm not at home. Like, put it away. I have to turn it off and put it under the seat. Like, and I do it, and it's my way of just whether I'm with somebody or like I go to movies by myself just because I just want to be there. I just want to be immersed. I want to be engulfed in the screen. And that's why you go to the theater.
Well, I know there's two I'm going to see, and that will be Superman and Predator Badlands. I'll be going to see both those.
Yeah.
So I don't get a chance to get as often as I'd like, but
oh man, the Superman discourse is going to be great.
It's going to be freaking.
Oh my God.
I'm a huge Superman fan, but I liked Man of Steel. I'm actually a big fan of that movie, but I also like the Christopher Reeve movie, the Superman movies too. I like them both. I think they both are good renditions. So I'm really excited about what James Gunn's going to do with this.
It'll be interesting. I'm not a huge Superman. I'm a Batman guy, so I just love that he got his ass kicked in Batman versus Superman. I got what I want. I'm done. I'm like, good. I don't need another one. I don't need any more Superman movies. I watched the movie I wanted to watch.
Allie Girl says I get mad when people text me when I'm at a movie.
Oh, Bloodlines. Yeah, that's right.
That's nice. Good vocal engaged crowd at 11 p.m. Oh, that's good. I'm glad.
I'll get a
I'm actually a big Conjuring fan too, so I want to see how this last one ends. So
when I was
excited about that one too.
When I was a kid, they put on I was probably like 14 or something. My mom saw this ad at the movie theater. They were playing the Nightmare on Elm Street 1 through 5 when 5 came out. So they played all of them in a row. And she dropped me and my friend off at the theater, and it was like we got there right at the end of, I think, Coming to America was playing in the same theater. And we got there and nobody was there. So my friend and I are just sat right in the middle, and it was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. It's just, we're going to be here for the next 7 hours watching all the Nightmare on Elm Streets. And about once the movie ended, my buddy goes to the lobby there to get some popcorn and stuff, and he comes running back and he goes, dude, there's like 1,000 people out there, and that theater was full, and everybody was engaged the entire night for like 7 hours watching all these movies. It was insane, but we don't see that anymore.
No,
I don't know why they don't do a movie marathon like you know what I mean, like Predator coming out. Why not show them all in the theater again?
They do. There's doing like I think in Pennsylvania it might have happened, or it's happening pretty soon. They're doing a Friday the 13th marathon. I know Friday the 13th marathon.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Not one I've seen up in Canada lately.
Yeah. Well, I'll say when I was in LA, there was a lot of stuff like that, like the New Art and the Arrow and different theaters like that would do things like that. They're used to like. There's still those like vintage nights, you know what I mean, where people are going to go back and get together. But obviously, like conventions too, in a way. I think that there's a way to mix, like, Return to the Living Dead's 40th anniversary is this year, and I'm sure there's plenty of screenings that Tom and Linnea Quigley and everyone else who was involved with that movie.
Yeah, I think
year, you know what I mean?
I think this summer they're going to be doing a lot. Like up here we got Cineplex is the big chain.
Yeah,
and so last year, they re-released the Terminator for its 40th anniversary. So I got to see that. And I went and saw Nightmare on Elm Street for its 40th anniversary. And that was a really good experience. Even though it was the 4K version of it, it was still the sound was really good.
Yeah, you just got to make events out of it. If it's an event, people will show up. If there's other things to do other than watch the movie, and like there's a little bit more of an extra, plus, that will get people there.
Although my 10, that's my youngest. My 13-year-old loves Venom, so I took him to see the last Venom movie. And seeing him like he was like swelling up with tears at the end of the movie, but seeing him enjoy a character and enjoy a movie like I used to was really rewarding. I was like, it's not my thing, Venom. Like it wasn't my thing, but he really connects to those characters. And so it obviously, Hollywood is still doing, I guess, something right on some level.
As awful as the entire Spider-Man Sonyverse, the Sonyverse Spider-Man stuff, how bad that's been, Venom has been such a bright spot. As bad as those movies even are storytelling wise, it's Tom Hardy and the voice of Venom them, I could watch it just them doing whatever, like just going about their daily lives, arguing with each other. They are so like, it's such a great, and I think he's acting with himself. It's a funny performance. I like it.
Ronnie says would love to see Return of the Living Dead on the big screen again. I would have loved to see that one on the big screen. I was too young to see that on the big screen when I was a kid. But that was one I watched when I was like, it's my favorite zombie film. I love Return of the Living Dead. I think it's one of the so funny and unique.
I also think it's the scariest one because you can't kill them.
Yeah, and they're running. Isn't that the first one where they actually run?
Basically.
Tyler says I need to see if there's tickets for the LA Batman Forever Schumacher cut showing. Go do it, man.
Oh yeah.
The Oracle says, "Hey gang, I came in late. What did I miss? A whole lot, but watch the repeat." Alley Girl says, "I like the last Venom. Yeah, it was enjoyable. My son really liked it. And my youngest went and saw. He loves Moana and he likes all those Pixar, but he likes the classic Disney cartoons and you know, my older son's a big Spider-Man fan, so they watch movies. It's just yeah.
You missed my favorite P. Diddy song. It was the Ballad of Baby Oil.
Alrighty. If there's any other questions, guys, keep asking them. I'll wrap this up soon, though, guys. I don't have to work tomorrow, but
yeah, no, I got the day off tomorrow. Actually, I got we're doing hard sparring tomorrow with Muay Thai. So
then I'll just segue into.
No, I mean, I'm fine. I'm good to hang.
Okay. Let me ask you both what the afterglow has been like with Never Hike Alone and Jason Rising.
James?
Vin, you're the rock star of it all.
I don't know. I mean, it's been last week I did a thing called Monster Expo here in I'm from Southern Massachusetts. Fairhaven is a town that's like 2 towns over from where I grew up. I had a kid come up to me who did an illustration of like 13 Fanboy. I had people come up to me with, they made Ghost Jason figures. People show up in Ghost Jason cosplay. And I see it pop up all over the country. I mean, like the first cosplayer to ever cosplay Ghost Jason was this young kid, Horror Stevie, who ended up being in Never Hike Alone 2 as the young Tommy Jarvis, who James helped me, build that costume and put all that together and stuff like that. The way that, completing Never Hike Alone, through that experience, I got to meet James and work with him and Carl on Jason Rising. Eventually that turning into working with other people like Cecil Laird to do Dylan's New Nightmare, and Cortland Gordon when we did Happy Halloween, and all these other things that we've done, and all these different people that I've met and traveled the country and got to meet all these different alumni. And I'm sure the same thing for James too, being able to work with Tom McLaughlin. And I used to be able to go, when I lived in LA, Tom and I used to go get coffee like once or twice a month and, hang out and talk shop and do all that stuff, and never thought that we'd be able to do to make the transition from just a fan, into the world of the fan filmmaker, but to make fan film good enough for all of a sudden it's like, people say like, well, this is just as good as any of the ones that I watch in the series. And I watch this at the end of my marathon. Or when Jason Universe posts something about, their new costume design, and everyone says, well, that just looks like Never Hike Alone, and you should hire Womp Stomp to come help you figure out how to do this. That's not something that when you go into making a fan film, that's something in the back of your head that's sort of like, I hope I win the lottery. I hope I make this so good that people do it. And to see it slowly, like over time, because people didn't just buy into it right away when we first launched it. And even when it first started, it wasn't even doing the numbers that it's doing now. It's over time, it has caught on. It has been awesome to see, it overflow into the cups of other filmmakers and just the franchise in general, and just inspiring people to take their shot and make their own movies. And yeah, I mean, and so I think that like, that's the coolest part, is the fact that it's brought a bunch of people together. I've had a bunch of great experiences. And it's definitely, it's not something you can anticipate, but it's definitely something you can be grateful for. And I'm super grateful for it.
I love just getting out with my kids and saying, let's make something on the phone. And just like Like we at our trailer park, we have a set of woods we could play in. And you know, a lot of the stuff you do, I just, you know what, I'm gonna put my tripod here, tell my son, hey, run in front of the camera. Or I'll say, I'll just try shots that I like, that I see in movies, and try to recreate it. You know what I mean? And it's a lot of fun just putting something together. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun just trying to make something out of nothing. Like,
and to segue off of what Vinny's saying, and I agree with, a lot of that is synonymous with me as well. But I think as a filmmaker alone, to be able to put a project together like that and have it do what it's done. Also, when you go to do something in the future, people go, yeah, I want to work, I want to work with you again. I want, with crew and performers, and just in general, people go, yeah, I want to be a part of this next thing that you're doing. So that's important too, because trust in the industry is a big deal.
Yeah, but and from a standpoint, like you can really market it the fact of this. It's like before we did these films, like we were fans, and now you can text Adrian King. I can text Tom Matthews. I can text Vinny Guasafar or Tom McLaughlin or Douglas Tate or Larry Zerner or like any of these people who are heroes. And when you go to, like, when James and I go to conventions now and we get to sort of share this experience, and we see people lining up to go get, Amy Steele's autograph and Tom Matthews' autograph. And I remember when I was a fan in 2013, and I went to my first ever convention as like a 30-something-year-old, and I saw Tom Matthews at a table, and I couldn't work up the courage to walk to his table and talk to him. And a few years later, I was directing him on the set of Never Hike Alone, and now I can call him up and be like, "Hey, Tom, what are you doing? Like, boy, can you sign these masks for me? Can you? You know what I mean? I got some stuff that you got to. I'm going to do this. Or we're going to do that. Are you down to do a voiceover? And do you want to work on this project together or that project together? Or and like James is in the middle of talking with Adrian and Amy about Jason Rising 2 and continuing their storylines. The fact that James started this journey, like making this really cool film, and didn't understand that like it would lead him to where it got him to be able to work with first of all, it got him to work with Adrian King. He worked his ass off. We were able to convince her to do the movie, and then he got to do something that Friday the 13th fans have always wanted to see, who are fans of Adrian, which is give Alice, put some respect on her name, like Team Alice, like Alice survived, and let's create that version where Alice survived. And we got to do something with like for fans, we got to reciprocate that for Adrian, like that type of feeling, and being able to do things like that, or to, like, for me, being able to continue Tommy's storyline, or to bring Jason's story to a close, like actually being able to do, not just like, somebody had asked me about some other people before in sort of the community, and I would say there's a difference between fan films, and I'm not trying to talk down on anybody. I'm just saying there's a version of fan film where everybody's just happy to be on set, and they're all just sort of like happy to just play with the toys. And then there's sort of, I think, the special things that stand out between like Jason Rising and Never Hike Alone is we actually got to do things that the franchise needed. You know what I mean? Like, we needed to see these things. These are things that Friday the 13th fans were craving to see, and not only did we bring them to life, but we did it in a way that I think most people are pretty satisfied with. And that's very respectable and commendable. And, I'm definitely like, throwing a lot of props towards James, and the fact that the way he was able to pull that entire production. Like, I watched this guy work for years, pulling this thing together, building these little sets and pulling these little pieces together and piecing it all together. And then having that sort of experience going up to Portland and being able to fill, what's the name of that theater? James?
It was a Hollywood theater.
A Hollywood theater in Portland, and a theater full of people. People don't know that Adrian King's going to be in the movie, and she shows up and does a Q&A and gets to talk to people. Like, that's cool, and I think that just goes to show you what's really special about the Friday the 13th franchise, because I don't know any other horror franchise that's able to do that. The fans have been able to accomplish stuff like that. There's a million Halloween fan films. There's all these other fan films out there, but I don't see anyone as organized and dedicated and as successful of executing beautiful productions as the Friday the 13th fans. And I think that
it's I call it a genre now, the fan film. It's a genre to me.
It definitely grew. It grew in the last many years. And I would say it started with the Ari Shankar type stuff when he was doing Dirty Laundry, and he did the Dark Power Rangers ones, because that was the first time I ever saw like a non-licensed professional looking fan film. And I was like, oh my God, you can do that. That's what inspired me. And I think that as it trickled down into the prosumer sort of market of where we were able to shoot with these digital cameras and start to kind of match those industry professional levels of stuff. It's like, we definitely were able to take off. Obviously, there's Star Wars fan films and other fan films that have come out since then are very, very good. But I like the Friday the 13th fan film arena is very rich with, diverse stories. And, think about how many alumni have done all these different fan films now. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. It's
the bootleg universe. I love it.
Well, not to mention even when like Sandy Calora did Batman Dead End.
Yes.
Has the Alien, the Predator, all of these things. And even though it didn't have like, alumni, he built those costumes himself. And that, raised 35, I think it was like 35 grand out of pocket from his own to shoot this thing. And that's passion. That's what we do. We're passionate filmmakers, and it takes a lot. It's not easy.
I would not imagine it is.
Yeah, but at the same time, like there's times when we're out there, like I can imagine, like you're out there building that Camp Crystal Lake, like, on that property, and it's a lot of hard work, but where else would you rather be?
Right.
When I was at Camp Crystal Lake, like our camp for Never Hike Alone, like it was in the middle of nowhere. There's no working bathrooms. There's no running water, and it's dusty and hot. There's no other place I'd rather be than in that batshit infested, falling down cabin. Like I want to be there right now, just like hanging up, like fixing stuff, like and hanging up signs. And
you did a good job too, because I watched the original recently, and you got the chimney right, and all those little details.
Well, that was just there. We just used what was there, and then
that's good.
Brittany, the production designer, painted the thing in there and like built a lot of those tables, and a lot of the stuff that was there was stuff that we repurposed from other cabins and brought it in there. We just wanted to make it like put all those curtains up on the wall and all that. I mean, on the windows, just to give them the
you
shape.
really when I first saw that movie, your movie, the first one. They're just reminded, wow, we're back at the camp again. This is like where Marcy got it and where Kevin Bacon got it. You just reminded, like, remember the camp? Like, remember walking through the camp? Well,
I think that's something that I think both James and I put a lot of effort into, is that James puts a lot of effort into the production design. And the production design is something that gets overlooked a lot. And where to put your energy for the production design and how to do that. And, James having the, his experience with haunts and building scares and all of that stuff, being able to use that to create, I mean, honestly, like some of the shortcuts that we took on Jason Rising in order to create the illusion that we were in different places, like building the shrine in Carl's garage. I'll never forget that. Or the way you guys sort of like, the ending scene where, the officer's stuck in Jason's cabin and she's trying to get in, the inserts that you guys got, and we were able to shoot around things that didn't exist anymore. The ingenuity, like it's all in the production design, and it made the films feel so much bigger than they actually are. When you actually come and see our sets and actually see these things, like you'd be like, how are we making this look this great? And it's just, it's the ingenuity, it's the passion, it's something a little bit more than a hobby, I would say. Like it's just something a little bit more than a hobby. But we're not professionally, we're not getting paid to do it. So we're just getting bankrolled by fans to spend the money to create the films. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's I dig them. I love what you guys do. And you guys are hilarious at the end of Jason Rising. We need a movie just with you guys.
We'll have our own spin-off buddy cop movie. Well, we're thinking about bringing him back for Jason Rising too. Somehow both survived. We know that. I mean, he only got his hand chopped off, so he's fine. I got through the gut.
You got fucked up.
He's got a colostomy bag now.
Yeah, I'm only like half a body, maybe, in a colostomy bag in a wheelchair. It's still working.
Officer Playboy.
Great, man.
Officer Playboy, baby. Can't even jerk off anymore.
Yeah. Ronnie says, need you two at a con down south and up in Canada.
We're ready. Let's go.
Alley Girl said that would be great, Ronnie. Yeah, we need Deputy Playboy spinoff. I was thinking the same thing, Alley girl.
I
Tyler
gotta
says,
dig
"Wish
myself
I had
back
come
in.
across Want Stop so late in the game." I
I know
didn't even know.
we needed Tyler in our CG department much earlier
Yeah,
on, but
yeah,
it's fine.
I could remember. I don't know how I came across Never Hike Alone initially, but I started watching it. I didn't know it was a Friday movie because I didn't watch the trailer. I said, "Oh, I've heard some good things about this kind of thing," but
It's honestly the best way to watch it.
yeah, the best way to watch is not knowing anything. And then when I started cluing in, I'm starting to go, "What? This is feeling
This seems
awfully."
Friday the 13th. Like that sign looks
And
like, yeah.
yeah, it was like that, and I like that. I just liked my experience watching it, and it was really brilliant the way you just utilized the camcorder. You know,
Mhm.
like I think you said it's like kind of like The Martian, right?
Yeah, The
Where
Martian in 127
where
hours.
like that was just a very, and I would imagine cheaper. Am I not wrong? like
Well,
in
yeah,
some
having one
ways,
actor. Yeah, no, having one actor is a much like by Jesus Christ. As soon like Never Hike in the Snow is, you know, half the length of Never Hike Alone, but it's twice as expensive because there's 6 times the cast. There's more
yeah,
cast, there's more shooting days, there's more setups, there's more legit
yeah,
days on set. Whereas Never Hike Alone, the way we saved money was we found an abandoned camp. I had one actor and I was Jason, and the other
yeah,
people that supported that and to get most of those shots were, Chris Ellis behind the camera, JD Martz behind the camera, Kyle Klein there as a producer. You know, we were doing our own sound, and a lot of the sound that we got for Kyle doing a lot of his monologues is going right into the GoPro. And so we didn't need a sound person half the time. And when we did, we set up our own mic. We didn't even have a sound like a legit sound person. So we were doing
yeah,
it with a very guerrilla crew. It was only when we were doing stunt days and stunt days, big effects days, night scenes where we were driving up that mountain with lights and a grip truck, up this like abandoned road that we shouldn't have been driving on, probably could have collapsed on us. But we were just like, we got to make this happen. Yeah, so it was yeah, it was quite the trip.
And when I saw the Never Hike Alone for the first time, that was the same time that I decided to do Jason Rising.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it, and obviously the Tom Matthews thing, I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. But as a whole, for the film, it was like, wow, this guy really did something special here, and I think, and I told Vinny this before, is that after I watched that, it was like I wanted to be there on that set with Vinny, working with him. That's how I felt after watching. I was like, I wish I could have been there doing that with him.
Yeah, flash forward a couple years later, and then
right.
we're doing
I'm
Jason Rising, we're doing Never
Yeah.
Hike Alone 2. Like, I mean, we couldn't have. I mean, I don't think I could have completed the Never Hike series without James, and like coming in and being able to be a part of Jason. Like, and I felt the same thing when I saw fucking undead Pamela walking around in one of your first trailers. I was like, I got to be a part of this. This is something. This is right up my alley. And I remember when we just first started talking, it was like kismet. You and Carl, and yeah, it's been and this is and now we're great friends, and it's all through Friday the 13th.
Yeah, and if you look at the Jason Rising Hawk, when I first designed that look, I was off of the Part 4, but I really took inspiration from the Ghost Hawk because I liked how he minimized, just kept it weathering, got rid of the chevrons, and my initial thought was maybe he's onto something. Maybe I don't want to put chevrons, but I just kept a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
I had my own thoughts on it as well, but I did take some influence from the Ghost Hawk for the Rising Hawk.
Jason, in your movie there, James, sometimes I swear it's Ted White. Like he did such a good job of capturing final chapter Jason and his viciousness too. And then when you had him, then you put a chainsaw on his hands. It's like, what is this? I haven't seen this before. This is great. Like
Dan did a great job. He put a lot of heart and soul into it. He really loved, he put everything he had into it. And you got to give all of the cast props on, even for Vinny's first one. I mean, you got cast and crew following you around for 3+ years, sticking it out every time you call and you need them there. That's a
Mhm.
long time. I don't recall ever being on a project that long to where I'm like, yeah, let's go, guys.
Yeah, and going
So
through that entire experience with you guys, like through COVID and trying to figure out how we were going to piece it together, and it creating all these different issues with when people could show up and how that affected certain scenes and how things needed to get rewritten. It was, yeah, like I said, these things take dedication. There's no, at the end of the day, most of the people who are showing up aren't getting paid, and those who are getting paid aren't getting paid their rate. They're just getting something that you need to. It's the only way you can reserve them for the day, or else you're going to lose them and you're not going to be able to shoot.
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like it's just a lot of people showing up because they like hanging out with each other. And I definitely also want to give a shout out to Alex, who plays Pamela, who does an amazing job and who's also just as passionate as Dan is about Kyle. Like Alex brought that to Pamela, which is such a treat for Jason Rising. And again, like one of my favorite part is her coming back and being a presence. And I think that as we've talked about Jason Rising too, I always talk about like, Pamela's going to be super powerful. Like we gotta bring her to the next level in this one and make her there. And so it's just, and that's what it is. It's just like, it's people who are bringing that passion to it. And I think that's the key to the success with any type of film. It's like, if you have people who are passionate about the story they're telling, they're going to tell something great.
And it's also like I love watching behind the scenes stuff of how they actually shot something. Like I found an old Empire Strikes Back documentary from 1980, and speaking of Womp Stomp, the Wombat there,
The Wampa?
The Wampa, sorry, that's it. They had a broomstick on its arm, and so when it hits Luke, they're just going, okay, action. He hits Luke, and Luke's got to fall down. So Mark Hamill said he did this like 15 times. And he's not actually on a, was it Tom?
Tauntaun.
It's just a head and a neck, and he's actually on a sawhorse where you cut wood on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they got a big blanket, and he's sitting on something. And then I watched the movie, I'm like, editing is freaking everything. Like it's just the way it almost looks that's how they do it. You would sometimes your mind goes, that's how they do it. Is it that, like, I don't want to say it's simple, but it's I guess the sleight of hand.
It's all about what you see in the frame.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, it was a really good documentary actually, just to see how or even the problems they face. Like I'm sure you guys watch a lot of behind the scenes with certain movies and like all the problems there, or the ghetto film, like where James Cameron Terminator had no permit, so he's like out there on the freaking road and all that kind of stuff. So, and so did Vinny freeze on us?
Oh. No. I just read something.
Well, another great one is like Neil Blomkamp's District 9.
Love that film.
You see how they just took the stuff that they had from what they were going to do with Halo, and they had to just keep going. Since they shut that down, well, let's make a movie. That's the kind of stuff that I'm like, yeah, let's just keep going.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I was late to the party too, but I think I made up for it. She says I was yelling at my TV. I forget what that was in regards to, but but yeah, finding the secrets of filmmaking is I've always found it pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing how things are made and seeing what people went through to make them, and all that stuff, especially real low budget stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Blomkamp is my guy. Love District 9 and Chappie. Anytime him and his partner Terry write a movie together, it is gold. Yeah, I really like Blomkamp. It's too bad we never got to see his aliens.
I want to see Raka as a feature. Raka, I love that the one with Sigourney Weaver in it. And if they did a full feature of that, it would be great. It'd be an amazing.
Oh, she says during Never Hike Alone, the Tommy reveal.
Oh yeah, it was the Tommy reveal in Never Hike Alone was just if you didn't know about it, it just kind of set you back in your seat as a Friday fan, like, holy shit, this means something. Is my take on it. It means something to not only, Jason fans, but to the alumni, that they're willing to support this.
Keep it going, right?
Yeah.
Keep it going in a time where it hasn't been going for quite some time. In that sense, like from the all the Hollywood, and I mean they've had some. I was just telling James I can't remember the script, Vinny, but the one where Jason attacks in the morning, where they're closing up the camp.
Yeah, that is.
Nick
I'm literally looking at the. I was just going through some old files of like old Jasons. I'm literally looking at the concept art for it right now.
Is that the Nick Antosca one?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Can I present? I can probably share screen, right? Hang on. I'll show
I
you
think
some.
you can.
Hang on a second. I'm gonna get some photos up.
And I think he had a weird ass machete with a saw blade on the back of it. Like,
yep. Hang on. I got it all coming. I got them all.
Oh no, that was the series that they shut down, right?
Well, no, there was. So yeah, here's. Hold on. Share. Let me see if this works. Am I sharing? Oh wait, I gotta. I think you gotta. Yep. So there's like something that they had from that. And again, look at the mask, because like I'm telling you, like this mask with only a few holes in it, this has been something that's been in development for a long time.
Yeah. Look at the suspenders on them.
Yep, they got the suspenders here. I'm gonna go to another one. Hold on, present. I got another share screen. Check this out. This is him at the end of the movie. This was him in the morning after he busts out of the medical van.
Yes.
Oh, the bone.
That's right. This is the script I read, and I really enjoyed it. Actually, I thought it was the bone saw and everything.
I didn't know about these images, Vinny. Where did
I found them. I found them online. This guy Rex Lethal drew them based on the script.
That's
here,
cool.
I got another one. Where is it? This one. Bong.
Let me get it here.
They're kind of like same thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, he in this script, he like the more he takes damage, the bigger he got, or something like that. I think.
Yeah, he would get even more angrier and come back.
Yeah.
All right, I got one more. This is the funniest one. So there's a moment in the ending where if you remember the script, where like she gets a look at his face and he's smiling because he loves killing people so much. I think this is that moment. That's what he's supposed to look like. He looks like a dog.
The only thing I didn't like about that entire script was the necklace. Or the charm or whatever it was.
Was that in that script?
Yeah. Because that's what he was going for.
Oh, that's right, because they took it. And it's the same thing. And they took it from, they did that
like
in
2009. But they did kind of the same thing from 2009 because she had that necklace.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines. Oh, she kind of looks like you.
Yeah.
Classic Shannon and Swift. Classic.
Yeah.
That's just we could kill Freddy by fire and Jason by water. How can we use that?
You know what's unfortunate too is that
I don't know, Scoob.
You know what's unfortunate is that Derek Mears is such a good stuntman and such a good, like he played the classic Predator and the Predators
and a genuine good person.
Yeah, like, and it's too like he wanted to come back so bad. He wanted to.
I talked to him at a convention and he was like, "I'm getting old, Vin." He's like, "They're not going to let me do this much longer. I got to get back out there." And I could see, and like I get that, like for actors and especially stunt actors, like there's a time when it doesn't, it's like
that's why you go into coordinating.
True.
Yeah,
or directing.
Because what he did, I really liked in that movie. I mean, I think all of us have some problems with that movie. But I thought there were some good things too in it. Just like Vinny said, I didn't like the design either. Like even when the first photo showed up back in the day, where he's I think he's kind of just sitting there and his hands are like this, and all full of blood and everything. I never liked the hair. I was always like this. I'm kind of a bald Jason guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like there's a lot of the blonde hair, the long blonde hair. There was a shot of him. There was a shot of Derek with the mask off. I remember that one that came through, and it showed him with only the piece missing and sort of just the eye piece, and it didn't look like it was all connected. And people were like ripping that photo, like he looks like shit, and blah 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 blah. And it was like, wow, like doesn't even have the mask on, guys. Like it should look fine when it's on, but I think it was with '09. I think it was like over designed. There was just too much going on. It was too much. And that's the thing I like about what's going on with the Jason universe, Jason, is that like it's simplified. They've got the costume under control. It fits like it feels like something somebody would actually wear. Now they got to get that mask under control.
I thought he was scarier in the sack.
Oh, in the sack, 1,000%. The sack looks great.
But you can tell this is the same cinematographer as AVP Requiem. You can't see a fucking thing.
Yeah, and Texas Chainsaw, Daniel Pearl.
Yeah,
who said that quote? He's like, "Why are we remaking this piece of shit?" Is what he called the original Friday the 13th. So, again, when you're talking about like the types of reverence that the people who are working on these films should have for the material that they're working on, referring to the films as a piece of shit is usually not where you want them to come from.
They also built up their. I remember when before it
not that the original film is like a cinematic masterpiece from a standpoint of cinema and like shots. I mean, there is the infamous tea making scene, but you know, still, I mean,
Folger's Instant.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I remember reading before the movie come out because I was really excited. I think we all were to see a Friday movie at that point.
For
this remake, but they were building. Said, when he finds his mask, it's such an epic, iconic moment. And when I watched it, I go, he fucking found it underneath something and put it on. How was that Batman Begins like?
Yeah, that was the lamest fucking thing I had ever seen in my entire life.
I didn't get it.
I think I openly made a noise in the theater. I was just like, oh. I went,
he had to make sure it was on right.
You know, like, again, like, I hated that moment. And, like, at least in the version they cut out, there was, like, I don't know. I think it made sense to give a character the mask because that's how they did it in the original one, and the mask would be handed off. And the original scene was just so, like, it had no tension in it at all. So, like, I see why they did that. But
it's like going to a fancy restaurant that somebody told you was really good. And you go there and the service is bad, the food tastes like shit, and you leave the restaurant just completely disappointed. That's how I felt.
Top dollar, yeah.
But you pay a lot of money for it, and that's how I felt when I left the theater seeing that movie.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like so many people just like will give something a passing grade just because they're so fair weather about it that they don't care. You know what I mean? It's just to a lot of people. That is a Friday the 13th movie because it has all. Oh well, you know, the people having sex, people doing drugs. Jason shows up and kills. It's a Friday the 13th movie, and you're like, that is the most like animal lizard brained description of what Friday the 13th is and can be.
I say I've always wanted more.
More.
Yeah, I've always wanted them to. We got.
Yeah,
I know Dave McRae's talked about this. You have talked about this. A lot of people are saying we got to get past blood, guts, and titties. Like that's it. We gotta go more, guys. If you want that kind of thing, you know, there's a lot of movies on Tubi that will give you that.
Yeah, and it's not like, you know, and it's not that like I get that that's a big part of like it's a big part of the culture of horror. You know what I mean? Like it is, people want to see that. They want that raunchiness. That's what they, you know, they love it. They love that kind of gritty nature. They love the sexualization of all that stuff. It's just that we got 12 of those movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? How are you going to keep reinventing the wheel if you keep doing the same exact thing? And that was the appeal of Never Hike Alone, was that like, wait a second, you're telling me you're doing none of the things that Friday the 13th does, and still somehow you're able to tell a compelling story about Jason Voorhees? Yes. Now let's do more of this. let's take Jason out of that formula and start putting him in other formulas. And that's what I loved with like again, like James put him in an episode of like, it was like what we talked about. It was like The Fugitive meets Justified meets Friday the 13th. And the way that we approach the storytelling and the way it like actually Jason Rising, when you really look at the way that it's shaped, and I think we talked about this when we were making it, it's Predator. Jason Rising is Predator. It's one mission that turns into another mission. You know what I mean? Like you think the mission is one thing and you go on that one mission, and then you get to the end of that one mission and realize that mission is no longer the mission. There's a new mission. The mission is survive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ripping spines out.
Yeah, ripping spines. Yeah, the whole thing. You know, we know what we were doing. And that's what I loved about the story. And I think that like those are the things that like I recognize like in good stories. You're like, boom, there it is. There's the structure. You know, especially
I like how James made an Evil Dead movie of Jason in it.
No, he really did. And I remember like listening the first time we were like listening to the soundtrack, and I heard like Kandar and like all that stuff he had later, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, you later all that Evil Dead stuff in there. He was like, yep, I couldn't help myself. And it was like, it's really, and you know, he built it into the lore, and it felt right. And you know, you hear that type of subtle stuff when like Pamela is coming back and other things like that. So yeah, but yeah, I think that Friday the 13th needs to, I don't think that it has to abandon the formula forever. I feel like if they can get some story stuff up front from like the first 2 or 3 movies, that like as soon as they get sort of like a nice arc, like if someone can give me the equivalent of what Never Hike Alone did in the fan formula of like, okay, we got a little hump, we got like a beginning, middle, and end, and now the story has come to a complete, and Jason is put to rest in this sort of area, but here's the one little, you know, footnote or, you know, gotcha that will bring him back, and we can see him become
it's gonna be, you gotta, I like build-ups, you know what I mean? I like build up, and we're gonna and I think guarantee they're gonna build up the massacre with Pamela, and I think it's gonna be an episode that everyone's gonna be talking about, good or bad.
I think that I wonder, like, are they going to feel, or do they feel the need to deliver on kills every episode? Like, do episodes of Dexter ever finish without him killing somebody?
Yeah.
You know, or it's going to be interesting. It's what is the space in between? What is the space in between? How compelling is that story? What are we watching? And so that's going to be if Friday the 13th fans are going to tune into this. If we're going to get more than one season,
and I do think I think they will add, like when they do that massacre. I think okay, Friday fans who want the kills want, this is your episode, like this is your episode. Yeah. And we're continuing the story, like we're gonna see the aftermath of everything too. But yeah, I agree. I think Brad Caleb King does have to balance a lot of different fans.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
For sure. I mean, I'm just like, we're chomping at the bit. Like, please give us something next. Give us something next to talk about. Give us something more to learn. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think the Jason universe, I think everybody just wants a better understanding of what it's going to evolve to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm sure it still feels so vague.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. It's like, hopefully we get something on June 13th of some level, like even if it's just an image or just a low, like I don't know.
We got an image.
Yeah, we got an image. Can we get another one?
Yeah.
We get an edit real quick.
Oh, do you guys remember? Do you remember when everyone lost their minds of the first Sonic movie and they actually reworked it?
That's what I'm trying to get fans to do, is just stay positive, be constructive, and just say thank you. We appreciate your effort. We see what you're trying to do. We like your message. If you want to listen to the fans, please change that mask. That's simple. That's all we're saying. Change the mask.
Yep. It reminds me of if you have a bank robber movie, that's the mask they'd wear. Like, You'd
No,
have a hoodie.
it looks like the mask that they wear in the GTA games. You know what I mean? It's the same shape.
Yeah.
And it looks like the mask that H2O Delirious. I don't know. I know he's a gamer, but I mean, that's the mask that he designed for. And like, that's fine for like a gamer or somebody just kind of like doing like a weird cosplay, but that's not franchise mask material. I'm sorry. It's just not.
No, I don't. I
Nobody
agree.
wants that mask.
No,
Nobody,
I haven't heard. I haven't heard anybody say anything good about it.
if you put that mask on a table with every other mask in the franchise, it would win 0 times. 0. Even
Yeah.
against the Jason X mask. 0. No one is choosing that mask.
Dominic says, but if they do that, people would still complain and say, "Where's ass, blood, and tits?" Yeah,
I think you can do both. I think there's a way to do both, but I think
I think so too.
I think you got to focus in on what your story is going to be first, and then you find the places to be like, okay, here's where we sprinkle a little titty and ass.
We gotta make the Adam Sandler song instead of phone, wallet, keys. It's ass, blood, tits.
Ass, blood, and titties. Where are you?
Yeah, it's yeah, you can balance that formula out and still
I mean,
progress
I
a nice
reinvented the
dramatic
wheel.
story.
I reinvented the wheel. James reinvented the wheel. The thing about reinventing the wheel is it is a risk, but if you have a good idea, the good idea will win out in the end. If you have a bad idea, if you're just trying to change things, or you don't have a really good like idea on how to change it, then you're just not going to win people over. And I would say that, like, again, like I could point to certain fan films and be like, listen, there's an idea here, but the execution of it just isn't fulfilling what, you know, I saw a lot of really good ideas ruined by people trying to chase down like, oh, but by the way, we got to be really raunchy and stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it actually takes away from the movie. It takes away from the serious of the movie. It takes away from the serious of the, you know, the story of the characters that are going on, because you just can't take the people seriously anymore.
No, well, it's one thing's for sure. I wouldn't, if another movie come out or announced, I wouldn't want to see another 2009.
No,
with stupid
I'm done with those
characters
types of movies. I'm done with those movies. Like,
because you know, we got plenty of them, right? Like you said, like
all of them.
Like, I mean, the reason I like Jason Lives so much is because it brought so much style, but there was a lot of substance that I think gets overlooked. Like a lot of the lore he builds upon, like, oh, let's put Jason in the lake where he first drowned. Like, I love that stuff about that movie. That's what I love about it so much. And like, yes, it has the wink into the audience, which is a lot of fun. It has all that. But it's also like there's action sequences in it. Like there's a lot of great humor in it. But there's also some really good tension at times too, I find. So, but yeah, the way Tom McLaughlin built on the lore. Where does he go as soon as he comes out of the grave? He heads back to camp. Like, well, that's one of my problems with Manhattan. It's like, why is he leaving the camp? Like, what's
well, not to mention, it's the first Friday that we were able to get not only Harry Manfredini's score, but we're able to incorporate, you know, soundtrack songs like Alice Cooper.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, a lot of people call it like the MTV Jason, right?
Right.
Yeah, but and like there's some beautiful shots in that movie. Those establishing shots and everything with the fog coming in and the woods and everything like that. It was just a beautifully shot film, I think.
Especially if you watch it black and white. I think it really plays well that way.
And I'm a big Universal Monster fan, so the Frankenstein shit, that's just awesome. That's just icing on the cake, man. It's like, how else are you gonna bring Jason back? Really? Like,
worked.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah. I think I'm gonna wrap this up now, guys. I thank you both for coming on. Anything you guys want to plug? Your podcast, Vinny? Any new stuff you can talk about? I know you're promoting your Ghosts in the Fog now.
Yeah, we have Ghost in the Fog, the animated Friday the 13th fan film. It's going to be starring Chelsea Rebecca and Zoran Gavocic. from Dead Meat. So they're in there. Diego Valenzuela plays Dom as well. It's being animated by Mako Animation. We're running an Indiegogo right now. I believe we're at just over 15%. In the first couple of days, so off to a good start. We hit 10% on our first day. We've crawled up to 15 already. We're looking to get to 20 by the end of the weekend. So if anybody wants to get some Blu-rays, we have a Blu-ray box set of the Never Hike Alone collection, which is Never Hike Alone, Never Hike in the Snow, Never Hike Alone 2. There's Never Hike Alone, the Ghost Cut, the anthology, the 2 hour and 30 minute back-to-back cut of Never Hike Alones. We're also got the final cut, which we're working on right now, which is a part of this campaign, which is a seamless cut of Never Hike Alone. No titles or trailers in between, the films. It's just one seamless movie that plays from Never Hike in the Snow all the way through Never Hike Alone 2 through Never Hike Alone 1. They're intercut together. There's going to be maybe new scenes you haven't seen before that got cut out, different takes from the same scenes, different recuts of scenes. It's going to be like a completely different movie. I'm calling it our Justice League of the Never Hike Alone. And so we got that all together right now. We're making it offered through a box set. The final cut Blu-ray will have Ghost in the Fog on it. So if you're just missing the final cut, you can get the final cut and just an empty box if you have all the other Blu-rays. And if you're a previous backer, you can email me at wompstompfilms@gmail.com and I will send you a discount code for either the box or the box set. Other than that, every Friday night, the Ghost Files on the Womp Stomp Films YouTube channel. We're usually streaming around 8 or 9, depending on what we're doing that week. We're talking about Friday the 13th, everything going on in the Womp Stomp Films world with stuff that we're developing. I will take questions about crowdfunding and filmmaking. So it's a really nice way to interact with the fans. And other than that, we got, the Star Wars horror fan film that I did with Cortland Gordon that's going to be coming out in, a few months. Lots of original projects. James and I are working on some stuff too, so definitely looking forward to everything we're getting ready for Womp Stomp Films in 2025 going into 2026.
Amazing. And James, Jason Rising 2 behind you there. What's the progress with that right now?
Well, there's been some weird things going on behind the scenes, but I think I worked those out. And so my plan is to launch our crowdfunding campaign by June 10th. I think that's awesome. The date that we're going to be launching that, and get it rolling. So it's coming along pretty nicely, and I'm excited. I'm excited to start working again.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely be excited for that sequel for sure.
I'm excited for it. We've been talking about it for years. I mean, it's this is fun.
I just watched it a couple weeks ago, rewatched it, and I started watching the Ghost Cut video of you.
And then you got bored.
But no, I didn't get bored. I don't know what happened. It's probably someone. I want to watch that, but I like what you did at the beginning there with the raw footage, like the handheld stuff. It felt it like had that real sense. That sense of foreboding was really good in it. But I'm planning on I'm planning on watching that in its entirety because that's just gold, man. That's like over 2 hours, I think.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. I mean, honestly, I want to see more people. I really think people should make time to watch Friday the 13th 1 through 8, and then sit down and watch the Ghost Cut, and you will feel like it has just continued, and then it will end, and you will get the ending that Jason Goes to Hell never gave us.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys, I just want to thank you all for joining the chat too tonight, Allie Girl and Dominic and everyone who is here tonight. I thank you kindly. Like I said, give a like, subscribe, go check out Vinny's Ghost Files podcast. It's awesome. I tune in as much as I can because it's #1 source for Friday the 13th news, man.
Big shout out to Friday the 13th franchise.com too. I mean, I know Jason Parker does a really great job over there. So if people are looking for updates, Jason's really tapped in. He has direct access to people there. They contact him. He's definitely got he's not fully on the other side of it, but they do come to him for stuff. So definitely franchise.com. Friday the 13th franchise.com is a place to get a lot of the news as well.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty trusted source.
Jason's been doing it for decades. and he was the first person to ever share. I mean, he was like a champion of fan films too, or he is a champion of fan films. He's a champion of of everybody in the franchise and fans. So yeah, I just want to give him a shout out because people should be, if they're not already, following him on everything.
Tyler, this is great chat. I got to check out Jason Rising. Yes, you do.
Tyler, you've never seen Jason Rising? What? Oh my God, you're in for a treat, baby.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Fun movie.
God,
loved it. Loved it. Some good humor in there too. With is her name Anna Campbell?
Yeah.
She was great, man. So sarcastic.
Anna's a goat. Congratulations to Anna on Nora, her debut, directorial debut.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
Yeah. She's a beast.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys surround yourself with great cast too. Like,
that's the secret.
Yeah. Right.
Surround yourself with smart people who are good at what they do.
Yep. Just like any business, really, right? Right. So, anyways, everyone, I'm gonna say good night to you all. I'll be back next week for Empire Strikes Back. Watch along for its 45th anniversary. Hard to believe. So we're gonna have a lot of fun watching that one. That may be a late show, everyone, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So so join me next week. That will be my next live show, unless I decide to do something impromptu. But yeah, so I appreciate everyone for watching, all that kind of stuff, and I guess we'll see you guys later. And thank you, Vinny and James.
Thank you, Jason, for having us, and thanks everybody for listening to us yak for 3 hours.
Cheers, everyone.